like, man, they just hype themselves up so hard in it, and it's just like, okay, like, it's just like, this is what makes our product so great. And you're just like, all right, that's a little, you could humble up a little. Jeez. I mean, it's a great tablet and everything, but...
Well, they gotta make the people selling it believe it, right?
Well, yeah, but just, don't get high on your own supply. Like, it's that, really.
It's Walter White.
There's just a big pile of iPads, and they're just snorting them all. It's just weird. Yeah. I don't know. Scarface references.
Any drug references.
Actually, yeah. You just, like, has anyone just... There's a big pile, like, put iPhones or something instead of the Coke on the desk and then slap Steve Jobs' face on Al Pacino.
Oh, the best part would be, like, they just take a whole bunch of cell phones, right? Like iPhones. Mm-hmm. They smash them up into dust, and then they bring out an iPad, cut it on that, and snort it off of that.
Oh, there you go. See, it's like a perfect Coke cutting thing.
For Apple products.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But, they don't even use a credit card for it. They use, like, a iPod Nano or something.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Pitch and Response Podcast.
Happy Thanksgiving, Nathan.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving, Paul.
We're recording this on Monday, October 14th, Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The one true turkey, born in Canada, ate today.
Did you actually have turkey? Or?
I did. I had it twice, actually. So Aaron's family did a turkey.
Oh, okay.
And then my family did a turkey, and like ham and all that sort of bullshit.
But, okay.
So this is a thing. I'm not big into turkey.
Oh. Well, that's unfortunate.
The actual bird. But I love, like, the stuffing, the gravy, and all that sort of stuff that comes with it. So I'm totally down for Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, okay. Whereas I thought you were, like, it's like the actual bird, and it was like, well, yeah, they're kind of ugly birds, but...
They are ugly birds. They're terrible birds, too. Like, they're probably mean.
Yeah, I'm told turkeys are quite mean.
Yeah.
But, okay, fair enough. Yeah, like, the trimmings that come with the turkey are pretty good, so...
Did you do a turkey?
I thought we were going to, but apparently, like, we showed up at my grandmother's for, like, Thanksgiving lunch, and then it was just like, all right, we got roast beef and ham. And I was like, oh, I like those things, but I thought, all right. So I wasn't disappointed. It's because we have chicken and stuff there all the time, so we have birds there quite often, so maybe she was like, I'm going to change it up, because, I mean, why not? Let's do something else.
What's the weirdest thing that your family or a family that you've been to, like, dinner with or whatever has done for Thanksgiving dinner?
Oh, like, just... it's never too far off the beaten path. Like, it's one of those things, really. Ham, chicken, or turkey. Like, no one's ever been like, hey, guys, it's hamburger night. Like, it's like, no. I got a meatloaf. Like, no one's ever tried to pull something like that. It's always something kind of along the lines of big family meal.
So last year, we had turducken.
Okay, well, that's like a bunch of stuff.
It was not a hit among a lot of the people, but I liked it. It was good.
Does it change the flavors of them? Like, can you just be like, well, I'm just going to cut it on the outside here and just have some and then you're fine?
I mean, I guess. What I like is that they all kind of, like, marinate each other, which is great. So, like, the chicken inside is delicious.
Mm-hmm.
The turkey on the outside was dry, and I don't know if that's just because my mom didn't cook it right or whatever.
Or is that just what happens? Like, you sacrifice that turkey to make the duck and chicken better?
Right. It's just kind of there to, like, better the experience. Like, if this was communism, it would be there. It's the greater good, right?
Right.
The only reason it's there is to make everything else taste better with its succulent juices.
But... say someone shows up and they're like, man, I love turkey. And it's like, well, sorry, we got a really dry turkey. But if you like duck, you're in luck. But no one's into that.
Yeah, nobody was really into it. Other than that, like, do you know what paella is?
I'm going to say I should, but I don't. But I've heard the word before, but I forgot.
Basically, think of, like, a weird Mexican stew, only instead of, like, water and broth, it's rice. So it's like rice, chicken, like little cocktail weenies if you want to put that in, seafood stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's just a mix of a bunch of shit together.
Okay.
So that's what we usually do for Christmas dinner, and like sometimes we've done it for Thanksgiving as well. The problem with it is that if you fuck up one ingredient, you fucked up a whole batch. So it's one of those things that you kind of have to babysit, and it could turn out good, it could turn out terrible. It usually turns out, this is okay. So we just
has there ever been a year where it's like, well, it burnt or whatever, like it's over?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And that year we still ate it, and then the next day we just ate something else. Like we didn't have leftovers. We just kind of
like went out to dinner or something.
Yeah, I think what we do is my family, usually the main family, like my mom and brothers and stuff, will usually do something. Then we'll go to my grandma's for the actual Christmas Day meal. Mm-hmm. And like she grew up on like the farm and stuff. They're all a bunch of farmer people, blah, blah, blah. So they know how to cook and cook a lot. So it's no big issue for them. It's just like, oh, we're cooking a meal for like 20 people. Whatever. That's like Thursday. So like they're used to that. So it's usually pretty good.
Okay. And I guess, yeah, like my grandma typically throws dinners kind of monthly basis. So maybe again, she felt like change up the menu might be in order. So I don't know. It was good though. No pumpkin pie. That was a thing I actually did want to happen.
Okay, that sucks.
Yeah.
You. Yeah.
I mean, I could just go down to the Safeway and buy pumpkin pie in an aerosol can of some, whipped cream and have a party, but that's also sad.
So we had 2 pumpkin pies.
Amazing.
One Aaron's sister made, and it was garbage. It tasted so bad. It was so bad.
Are you allowed to say that here, or is that
Yeah, she was the one that said it first.
Okay, she's like, I'm real sorry, you guys. This pie didn't turn out.
No, like not her sister, Erin herself. Like she took a bite of it. She's like, "This is disgusting," and spit it out.
Oh, so, like what was wrong with it? Just the wrong blend of mixed stuff in there, like too much nutmeg or something. Or
okay, so you know how pumpkin pie should taste a little bit like pumpkin.
Well, it should have the texture of pumpkin. I don't know what pumpkin actually tastes like anymore because apparently a lot of it's the spices they use.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so pumpkin pie should taste like pumpkin pie, then we'll say, like the spices and whatever they use. There's generally a pretty standard, like static, this is pumpkin-y when it's in something, right? Okay, that's not there. Instead, it tastes like dry sawdust, and it has terrible texture.
Dry sounds bad for a pie.
Yep, it was pretty bad. On the other hand, the second pie we had at my parents' house was done by the butcher, caterer / person, whatever that they get the meats from and stuff.
Okay.
And that was delicious.
Okay.
Put in the oven for a bit. It had this nice crispy layer on top, and it was just so good. Oh my god.
Did they do like weird like lattice crust business or anything, or was it just
no standard, very basic, and it was delicious.
Okay. Sorry, there's weirdness happening in the chat, so I apologize for bringing it up in the archived recording, but yeah, I'm hassling someone without even doing that.
Oh God, what are you doing now?
I'm not, but
why are you making fun of this person's family being dead?
I didn't say anything. I said hey when I joined the chat, and that was that. But okay. All right. I'm glad.
So they're just like no pumpkin pie. Are you saying that because you know I don't have a family?
No.
It's just like the weirdest jump to conclusions ever.
Yeah. We did have dessert though. It was some manner of cake, upside down, cranberry.
I think I'm okay with that because I like cake better than pie generally, unless we're talking pumpkin or pecan pie or pecan pie.
There was still whipped cream involved, so that was pretty good. And coffee.
It's always involved when it comes to you. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
In bikini. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That was a good PAX. Anyway, so how did you enjoy the cake?
Oh, the cake was good. I only had one piece, but that's kind of because I ate a bunch of... Oh, yeah, I guess the MVP of the dinner was actually broccoli, cheese, rice casserole.
Yeah, I have that every year as well. It's delicious, and I love it.
Yeah, and that was sitting near me, so I was just like having more and more of that over the course of the meal.
It's so easy to eat a whole pan of that.
Yeah. So casseroles are awesome. Yeah. So Thanksgiving. I guess it's also Columbus Day down there for our American friends, but the internet has told me several times today that Christopher Columbus sucks like a lot.
Okay.
Like he's just the worst. Like if you care about that guy, you need to read a history book because that guy was seriously like, Hitler's favorite hero growing up was probably Christopher Columbus. Apparently, he was just a massacre psychopath. So yeah, don't celebrate that. Find some other explorer to be excited about. Why isn't there a Galileo or something like some science guy? Where's that at? So I don't know. That it was weird. It was weird to see that pop up because like I don't remember hearing much about Columbus one way or the other. But yeah, I don't pour one out for the poor people of North America who were massacred by Christopher Columbus. Reportedly, I don't know. That's something that may well have happened. History paraphrased by me after glancing over Brittany's shoulder earlier and watching some comics being read or something. So, yeah. Paul, what are your thoughts on Christopher Columbus?
I love him.
Oh, he's your favorite?
I honestly don't know anything about him. Fuck that guy, though. Yeah, I actually did hear he was a terrible person because, I mean, first of all, Indians are a thing because he was looking for India, right?
Yeah.
And then he just decided, like, I hate you or something and killed a bunch of people.
He did kill a bunch of people. That did happen. I guess also, like, a lot of discoveries are just credited to him. I'm assuming maybe because of Bugs Bunny cartoons. That's where I'm thinking the misinformation started, because there's definitely one about Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess it was well known at that time that the Earth was not flat. And he was not even the first dude to make it over to this continent at all, obviously, because there were people here, but also that Viking dude, Leif Erikson, he made it like 500 years earlier.
Leif Erikson?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, quick hit from the chat. Was anyone from the past even good at all? No, not really. And you know why? Because colonialism was kind of a terrible thing. Just like going to another country and being like, I'm going to put a building up here and kill everything around it.
Yeah, this is mine now because, I don't know, I want it. I put a flag in it, so thanks. And yeah.
If you like it, then you should have put a flag on it.
Yep.
Beyonce, that's what she was talking about the
You're
whole
right.
time.
There should be some sort of like historical remix of that song. It's like, if you like it, then you should have put a flag in it. And then
flag on it?
Flag on it. Exactly.
Which brings us to the whores in England at that time.
Mm-hmm.
See, there you go. It works for everything. Beyonce Knowles, way ahead of her time. Actually, way behind her time, maybe?
Probably.
Yeah, because she was talking about the past. She wasn't talking about marriage and booties.
Brittany just wants to credit Eddie Izzard with making these observations about putting flags in things quite some time ago. So, comedians, they did it before we did it. So, we should have put a flag. I don't know. I'm not sure. Whatever.
We should have put a flag on it.
On this comedy island, and then it would be ours. We could claim the jokes for our own.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of jokes and islands.
Yep.
If you were on a desert island.
Yeah.
I bet Amazon.com would still ship to you.
Maybe. That's, remote.
And if you were to order something on this island from Amazon.com, you should be going to pixel-response.com/support-us, I believe it is, and clicking on our link first.
Mm-hmm. It's the most efficient way there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? What you can do is click on that link and then bookmark it. So anytime you want to go to Amazon, you just click that bookmark link and you're good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you support us, two idiots talking about Thanksgiving and Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. And how he may or may not have been just the worst. So.
Yeah. Give us money. I mean, fuck Amazon. Sure, they have something you want, but at the same time, why don't you take some of that money, say fuck you, and put it in our pocket? That's what you're doing.
I mean, obviously, all of you after this podcast are going to be clicking on Beyond Two Souls and wanting to buy it, so why not go through there before you go to Amazon?
Or your Pokemon. Actually, do not buy Pokemon from Amazon. I found out way easier to just do it through the DS. because
Oh,
fuck
like
going
just
to stores or on the internet.
actually, yeah. And if you have a downloadable version of Pokemon on you at all times, you just have it when you need it. So,
Which is always, I found out, and we'll get into that a little bit. Also, Stitcher, I do want to do a shout out with Stitcher as well. Give us a thumbs up on that. It helps like show our show to more people. When more thumbs up go on, you can do it per episode, I think once. But either way, that still is the best way to just like, oh, there's a new show. I should probably listen to that. I'm going to have to go to my computer, sync up my shit. No, fuck all that. You're going to go on Stitcher. You're going to click one button, and then you're good. That's all you have to do. So you should probably use Stitcher, favorite us on that, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, let's talk about Pokemon, because I've been playing some Pokemon.
okay.
And the reason why I've been playing Pokemon, okay, so Beyond Two Souls came out. We'll just backtrack a little bit. That came out, what, Tuesday? Like a week ago from when we're recording, roughly?
Almost. It was October 8th, yeah.
Okay, so that day is my last day before I work again, and I wasn't able to go out to a store. So Wednesday, I worked. Thursday, I worked. Friday, I worked. Saturday, I worked. And then right after work, I made a 3-hour drive to my parents' house, where I was until about an hour ago.
Oh.
So Beyond Two Souls was not a thing that could happen. However, Pokemon X, I was able to just click one button on Saturday, and I had it for the trip. I had it while I was up there, and for the trip back. So it is by far the better game. That's not true at all, maybe, but I still am enjoying the hell out of it. So I did get Pokemon X. I'm working my way through that. And man, I'm really liking the changes they made to the formula for Pokemon.
There's changes to the formula, or is it just presented like with more, flowers on it or whatever? Like it's just
okay. Maybe not to the formula, because you're still doing the same thing. You're leveling up and whatever. But you know what the shittiest part of Pokemon always was?
How you start with like shitty shoes, and it's like, no, you found the good shoes, and you're just like, why did this game start slower? What?
Okay.
And then you turn it off.
Okay,
That's as far as I got. So.
You are right.
Okay.
And they start you off with shoes where you can run right away.
Okay, good.
And
Don't
not
waste
only
my
that,
time.
you get rollerblades about 10 minutes after that to go faster.
Even faster. Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, that's all fine and dandy. The shitty part about Pokemon for me, and even though like Sean and I disagreed on this, is I don't like to take one Pokemon and power level him so high he can take out everything. I like to do like the metagame part where I have a different type in my party and I like switch back and forth depending on who I'm facing and what I'm up against for like the best path, like the critical path through a battle.
Oh, like you want a large posse of Pokemon to choose from? Kinda?
No, like I want diverse 6. Like I want my like psychic, I want my flying, I want my poison sometimes, I want my grass, I want my fire, blah blah blah. Like I want the
like
variety.
all the abilities available.
Right. So it's like, oh, now I'm up against a rock Pokemon, I'm just going to throw this guy out here. Sort of. Like, I like to do that part. I don't like to have one Pokemon, like, 20 levels ahead so they can just roll everything.
That sounds boring, so... Okay.
Yeah, it is. And that's how Sean plays it, and him and I are going to have words about that, maybe. Because I don't know. I've always disagreed that that's how you play Pokemon, mainly because why would they give you variety if you could just do it with one? I mean, you can, but why would you, sort of thing? It's just kind of boring.
Well, yeah, it seems to be reducing, like, what is already a pretty thin RPG to, like, its thinnest. Like, it's just like, sure. I broke it, I have a super tank, and you're just like, okay, well, what is being gained right now, then? I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. Okay. I didn't know that's a thing people do, but okay.
Specifically Sean. Yeah, so
yeah,
he
just
does
keep
that.
calling Sean out as, like, doing Pokemon wrong.
No,
not
doing it wrong. I just don't think that would be a fun way to do it. I think I know why he does it, though, because I'm pretty sure that's the easier way, or at least it was before. So what I was getting back at, or what I'm getting back to what I was saying, the part I had problems with is leveling. Say my main dude is level 12, okay? Mm-hmm. Now I have 3 other guys in my party at this point, and they are all level 3 because I haven't had to use them yet. Now I'm going to have to go through this area again for each one and just kind of like level them up slowly by putting them in the first slot so they come out first and then switching back and blah, 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 or just like trying to power my way through everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's an experience share. So every time I battle with any Pokemon, all the Pokemon I am carrying in my party get a little bit of experience.
Okay.
So right now I have a full party. My lowest is, I think, level 14 because he's like brand new, and the rest are 20.
Okay.
And that is way, way better. Like, holy shit, game changer right there, because that was my biggest problem.
So at least keeps everyone up to speed. Like, I mean, for me, context, like other RPGs, like party members you aren't currently using will kind of just gradually level up a little bit so they're not completely left in the dust, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, hey, well, you're level 47, but this guy's level 37, so you can catch him up if you want to put him in your main lineup for a bit. Like, it's not a complete disaster. So, yeah. Because then characters would become useless pretty quickly. So you'd never use them ever again, because mechanically it wouldn't make sense to at this point, even if you're kind of interested in seeing what they're all about.
Which is why I can somewhat see why Sean would do it, right? Because it's like, oh, my starter is already level 20. Why would I bother leveling up this level 3 now?
Right. Like, at that point, you're just electing to do tedious stuff for no reason. So
okay. They fixed that now.
Good. Okay. I didn't have context for like what Pokemon has traditionally done on that front. So okay.
What about horde encounters? So say you yourself are in the world of Pokemon.
Okay.
You're going through the grass right now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm walking through the grass.
Up ahead, you see a rat, and Rattata or whatever. I'm just grabbing a random low-level Pokemon name, and he's alone. So you're just like, all right, whatever. I'm going to throw my Pokemon out, blah, blah, blah. Now, what would happen if you stumbled into a wasp nest, like a nest full of bee drills? You would get attacked by multiple, right?
Yeah.
So now there are hordes of Pokemon randomly. So you can jump into a battle with like 5 of the same type of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And that is cool. Because at that point, like if you have Pokemon that has a ability that hits multiple targets, taking out 5 Pokemon at one time is the most satisfying thing I think I've ever had in a video game.
Hold on. They've never done this before?
Nope.
Okay.
It's kind of, I know, like all this stuff I'm telling you right now should have been maybe like generation 2 or 3, right? Just like
I mean,
progression.
like maybe this is revolutionary for Pokemon games, but it just sounds like they're in this weird, like, we've been doing RPGs at our own pace kind of thing. Because it's just like, attacking multiple enemies is just, like, come on. That's one of the first things you do.
Yeah.
That's weird. Okay, attack all. That is a thing.
Yeah.
Put that materia on there, then you can attack all of them. Slash all, dude.
Okay,
Slash
so
all.
yeah, the materia that allowed you to attack everything.
Yeah.
That was satisfying, right?
Yeah.
So now my Pokemon can do it. Finally.
Okay. Good. Finally.
Yeah. So like when I do this move that creates a giant what the fuck are they called? Like a giant tidal wave of water that hits Pokemon on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's multiple Pokemon to actually feel my wrath. My watery wrath is being felt.
Do they animate more?
What do you mean by animate more?
Well, they always seem to me like to be pretty static sprites that would just kind of sit there.
Oh, and then they would like move back and forth when they got hit.
Like, wow, this is pretty lazy, you guys. I mean, I know there's 200 of them, but 200 drawings isn't that hard.
No, there's full animations now in this game. Like when you like throw Pokemon out, they'll like do their thing and they're kind of swaying a little bit, and like there's full animation now. When they get hit, they do the like face sometimes. And
is it okay? Is it fair to say this is pretty much an annual franchise? Like iteration.
Are we talking about like the side stuff as well, like pinball and like?
Well, not like Dungeon Masters or whatever. Like, I mean, like, didn't Pokemon Black 2 come out last year?
Black 2 maybe. I know. Okay, I know what you're talking about because Black and White came out, and then the year after Black and White 2 came out, and now it's this year.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting at, right?
Like, it just seems like there's a lot of Pokemon. Like, you know, it's like totally fine and totally with it to make fun of the way EA Sports does their annual series thing, or Call of Duty. Like, it's like, come on, another one every single year, you guys suck. And it's just like, Love my Pokemon though. And you're just like, okay, you realize this is the same, right?
It is literally the same game.
Okay,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
Like it's like, hey, we added some more dudes, but like we have not changed this one bit in a long time because money machine, yo.
Yeah.
The creatures, gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah, every single one.
I don't know. I think people do understand that. I mean, I myself have not played Black and White or Black and White 2.
Okay, so it's been a few years for you specifically.
Well, I was playing them on emulator, I think last year or whenever it was, maybe earlier this year, and I was playing through a bunch of the older ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Like, it's still the same formula every time with a little bit of progression. I will say, though, X and Y do feel like the next step that Pokemon should have taken a long time ago. I don't know if maybe they took that step and this is just little iterations from Black and White, because I never played Black and White. But, like, I don't know, the horde encounters, for one thing, like being able to battle multiple Pokemon at a time, the fact that there's like 8-way movement now, so it's not just like the normal left, right, up, and down. You can do diagonal when you're moving on the thing too. That
seems crazy again that wasn't just a thing, but okay.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Like, guys, we got 8-way movement. Like, it's like we got color this time, you guys. This time you can like pause the game. All these amazing features have finally made it to the world of Pokemon. Welcome to the future. It's like, what? I don't know. I'm being deliberately snarky.
No, that's totally fine. I do get it and kind of agree with you, but I will say this. Mm-hmm. If you've been putting off Pokemon for a while and are looking for a new Pokemon game to jump into, this is the perfect game, and it might make going back to any of the other ones hard. Because they finally made Pokemon accessible enough that you can just pick it up, play for a while, have fun, have your whole team level up at the same time, and then put it down and like not feel like you have to grind out for another 20 hours in the same area.
Well, I guess accessibility was never kind of my question, because as from an outsider perspective, these are still like very simple RPGs, right? Like, these are very
extraordinarily, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, is there a reward to this? Like, do you feel like, yeah, I did it. I really accrued a lot of stuff. Like,
honestly, there is, and like, I didn't understand this for a while until I started playing Pokemon again and more. When you get to the point where you have a full team with like their with like stats, the perfect stats, and like the different move sets and whatnot, when you've accrued the team that you think is perfect, and then you actually get through stuff easily, and like you know enough of the metagame that's like, okay, I know he's gonna probably use this, and I get to use this sort of thing, you feel like you are accomplishing something. Like, it does feel very much in the way that like a fighting game or like a MOBA like Dota would be, where you're counter picking, you are just knowing like what your opponent's gonna do a little bit. That whole sort of thing is in there. And that's not something that's readily apparent for a long time. And I mean, I'm not able to do it myself still, but I have been watching like people battle Pokemon online. There's a Pokemon Showdown site or whatever. It's been around for a while now, where people can just go in, throw whatever teams they want a Pokemon in and their movesets and blah, 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 and battle each other. And it's really impressive. Like, there is such another layer to that game, because it's built simple enough that the 8-year-old kid is able to pick it up and say, this guy is cute, but he also has flamethrowers, so he's going to be able to kill a bunch of shit.
Okay.
But then there's enough there still with the basic mechanics where the pro who's been playing since 1996, when Red came out, is able to know every move set, make his perfect team, and then go against other people.
Okay. So, like, there's a pretty highbrow competitive edge to this whole thing. I mean, there's, like, some manner of training that happens behind the scenes. Like, you don't even see it happening, right?
Yeah.
I forget what that's even called. Like, yeah, I've definitely heard there's, like, a lot of weird depth to aspects of Pokemon, but it's kind of the aspects I would never care about. Like, it's like, PvP. It's just like, no. So, how's your campaign this time around? Oh, you got to get these badges? And you're just like, okay.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah, like, I mean, for me, like, we were talking about Zelda a while ago, And it was like, well, the formula's been the same for like a long time, but they always give you kind of new stuff to go after. It's like you got to go get these crystals this time, or it's like you got to go rescue, like put together the pieces of this ancient sword or whatever. Like they at least come up with different verbs, like different words. Well, same verbs, different nouns. Like they substitute different nouns in there and make it a little different and build some lore. This, like, it's literally just been badges, like every single time, right? Just like, go get those badges. And you're just like, how about we get, like, the ancient, like, prehistory Pokemon Masters scepter or something? Like, can we come up with something?
There are some cool things in there like that. Where, like, you'll find fossils of Pokemon and then use machinery to bring that Pokemon back to life.
Or you'll enter a town and there's like, oh man, we don't go to the abandoned gym anymore after the incident. You're like, oh shit. And then you find out
in the old games,
Pokemon.
There was Lavender Town, and it was like when you entered it, there was creepy music. There's nobody really hanging around outside. And there's a tower full of ghost Pokemon.
Hell yeah, ghost Pokemon. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad they've been doing things with that. Like, again, I've only stalled out in the early areas like every time I try it. So I never get to see the juicy business, apparently.
Sure. So the stuff you're talking about is actually in there.
Is there a ghost tower in every Pokemon, or is it like, no, that was that game's thing? This time, there's this weird underwater city or something. Like,
there's differences because they're on different parts of the same world, like different continents. It would be like, sure, there's like the Great Canadian, like White North here, but then like you go see like I don't know, somewhere in the Middle East, like a bunch of like palaces or something. There's differences, but there's
humans everywhere, and they're doing human stuff, but, it's still different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and here it's a world where humans and monsters live together and do stuff.
And, they all still have, like, different parts. I mean, here, if you go in the Rocky Mountains, there's more trees and stuff. If you go more to the east, like, from us, there'll be, like, just plains of grass and wheat and stuff. And if you go north, there'll be, like, barren wastelands of snow and stuff. Right. And, like, it's the same thing in the States, same thing, like, in probably Russia and shit like that. So they're still basically, like, this is the area where rock Pokemon thrive most because it's a lot of rocky terrain. This is the part that's more grassy. This is the part that snows a lot, sort of thing.
Well, yeah. Like, I did, even when I was playing just on my friends' Game Boys back in the day, like, when they were way into it, like, I did kind of appreciate, like, there was kind of a, I don't know, nature scavenger hunt thing to finding all the stuff. Like, just like, oh, I got to go to this region and then wander around and hopefully I'll encounter something. And then capturing it adds it to your arsenal, and that's kind of cool. But I don't know. Like, is there really incentive to catch them all beyond catching them all? Is there kind of like a beast, like filling in information and you kind of get little trinket stickers or something?
There is literally a Pokedex, which is basically like a sticker book if you want to get down to it.
Okay.
That's awesome. I do like that part where it's like, I'm never going to use you, but I'm going to catch you and throw you in this computer, which is almost kind of animal cruelty now that I say it out loud.
You're throwing it into the computer, for processing. Like, what happens inside there, dude, you don't want to know.
You don't want to know. You just open the Pokeball, there's guts and debris of Pokemon
it did
everywhere.
That DNA, it catalogs it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, like, PETA is pissed at Pokemon all the time, but whatever. We shouldn't encourage them. But
I'm gonna go ahead and say people are starting to get mad at you in the chat because you're just like, oh well, they don't have this. It's like, actually they have a thing specifically devoted to that.
Well, I'm just saying.
I don't know. You're coming at it from the side where it's like, I know nothing, literally, basically, about
I've Pokemon. Never cared about this. Make me care about this. Is it too late? I don't know.
Is it too late? I'm gonna say with this release, no, because if you wanted to care about it, you could play this for a bit, and if you're into it, then like it's still a good starting point, because my team right now has a whole bunch of old generation Pokemon even.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you what my team is right now. I have a Pikachu, Dunsparce, Farfetch'd that I got off some dude. He was just kind of like, hey, do you have this bunny Pokemon? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want a Farfetch'd? I'm like, okay. I'm like, why not?
Okay.
A Pansage, which is from White, I think, from Generation 5. I don't like very much, but he's my only grass type right now. My starter Pokemon is Frog-a-Deer right now, but he starts off as Froakie, I believe is his name. Yeah, Froakie. He's a water type starter, and he's a frog that turns into a frog ninja.
Well, it's got Fro, like FRO, right at the beginning. So yeah.
But then the coolest part is that at one part in this game, like I don't know if this is spoilers or whatever, but like I had previous knowledge of this, which is why I chose Froakie as my starter, my water type, because at some point in this game, the professor is like, hey, I have these other Pokemon. You should just take one. And they are the original 3 starters of Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. So I decided I'm going to get on the ground floor with my water type because I'm going to get that Charmander. So I have my Charmander here now, too.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a good team of like a bunch of different stuff. I have also like my Psychic and Steel and Ghost type and blah, blah, blah in the bank right now. But I don't know. I do like what this game is bringing. Like, this is a game I would recommend if people are like, I don't know if I care about Pokemon, but I have $40 to spend, so why not? I would say get this because it has a good mixture of new and kind of older Pokemon in there. There's beautiful animations. Everything looks great. And it plays like Pokemon should have, maybe from like Generation 2, finally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's a more substantial RPG.
It's an actual video game now, and it's not just like a simulator to make you grind for hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it still static camera, or can you like spin that camera around 3D?
It's still kind of static, but when you're like turning corners and stuff, the camera will pan with you and shit like that on the overworld.
Okay.
And when you're just kind of sitting in battle, it'll focus in and out of Pokemon and just kind of like show the whole battlefield and that whole sort of thing.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess I don't know. Like, sorry to stomp on people's Pokemon enthusiasm. It's just kind of a thing where it's like, well, I missed this when it was, fresh for me or at that impressionable age. So at this point, it just seems like, I don't know, like old game design, but it still works for its audience. So it's still here.
Yeah.
And it hasn't evolved much at all.
Sure.
Which is ironic because of all the evolution happening in the game. So, it's kind of it's a metaphorical level.
Yeah, it's some meta shit right there.
Yeah, maybe. No, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, like I got caught up in it, as I've said before, with Heart Gold, just because of that weird real world level with the pedometer or whatever. But I got more caught up in that than the actual game, so I just never played past like the first couple hours.
That's understandable.
Then, yeah, just kind of brief encounters with it when I was a kid. Like my cousin was into it or whatever, and I'd always play the beginning of it, and then just kind of nothing beyond just finding more Pokemon would hook me into like the world or anything. Like it's just like, well, who are these characters? Like, yeah, there's this Oak guy and whatever, but you're kind of just this blank slate dude. I don't know. I just never like got caught up in it. It's just like, well, why are we going to gyms to battle? Like nothing seems at stake really, other than just I want to be the guy or whatever. So
no, you want to be the best, like no one ever was.
Yeah, like the song says. So
yeah, that song literally tells you everything you need to know about Pokemon. It says, I want to be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test or whatever. To train them is my cause. Okay, so it's telling you how to play the game there.
Well, is
like,
there...
Sorry, go ahead.
I know there's like mini stories within it, like you're talking about the Ghost Village or whatever, but like, I don't know. Like here's a bad example, but this is what I have, so I'm just gonna say it. The third movie, I
didn't watch it. I only saw the first one.
Well, it seemed to kind of like be like there were characters who were really curious about this weird type of Pokemon, the Unknown, I guess they were called.
Yeah.
Like the weird black, white things flying around.
That look like symbols and stuff.
Yeah. Like okay, well, you got me. Like I'm a teenager or whatever. I'm just gonna watch this, see what the mystery is. Like, do they ever kind of like, oh man, something crazy's going on with the Pokemon. You got to solve this mystery for the professor. Like, is it like, do they give you something like that to kind of hook you into what's going on, or is it just kind of like, hey kid, welcome to Pokemon Town. You got to go be the best Pokemaster. Go do that.
It starts
back to me to get information on becoming better at doing that.
The games start you off like that, where it's like, you're a Pokemon trainer now because every kid ever is for some reason in this world. So go! And then what they do, though, is along the way, you'll see this, like, cave or whatever. You'll go in and it's like, oh, there's a legendary Pokemon in here. Or there's a sign saying, like, some bullshit about whatever. So, like, there is little stuff like that thrown in. And I always found that part interesting, where it's like, I'm going to go to this corner of the map and see if I can get in there. Holy shit, there's an island here or something. You know what I mean? There's still some sense of exploration, albeit not to the point that you personally would find it interesting.
Okay.
But there is enough in there that it does feel like you're looking around this unknown world and finding new things. So there is that.
I guess part of something that's been kind of in the back of my head for much of this conversation has been the way Persona handles some stuff.
Sure.
Like, you can gather more Persona over the course of the game. Like, you can capture them effectively and add them to your lineup of dudes you can pull into battle or whatever. But that isn't the focus of the game. Like, the focus of the game is, like, the characters and, like, this story. And that whole mechanical side of it is kind of just making it a little bit sweeter, because there's, like, a stuff to do on that front. But it's not the star of the show. It just seems to me like the star of the show is collecting all these creatures, and there's not a lot of characters or personality to, like, some of the other stuff to kind of do, like, you know, pull me in, right?
Sure.
Like, we got all the meat and potatoes, and you're just like, well, yeah, but actually, no, I guess it would be like, we got all the gravy and rolls, and you're just like, well, where's the potatoes, man? Where's
well, I mean,
stuff?
Make no mistake about it. Like, what you're talking about, they don't care about story in the way Persona or any other JRPGs or RPGs in general would.
Mm-hmm.
They care very much on the mechanics, which is why in the end game there can be a competitive scene, because the mechanics are tuned to the point where people can actually, like, do metagaming and try different strategies out and play against their friends or each other, or, like, try this new Pokemon out with this new move or something like that. So there's what they focus on is the mechanics, and I think I have even said before, I find games that focus more on mechanics, I think, more interesting for replayability, whereas, like, I can play through a story and then I'm done that story. So then, like, I don't usually go back to it. However, a game like Dota, even to a point, World of Warcraft and stuff like that, where there's different mechanics and different things you can play with and tinker with, even in the end game, that's what I always seem to go back to. I think that's what a lot of people relate to.
Okay, fair enough. Like, yeah, like, there's, like, an infinite source of something interesting in there, because the mechanics are in such a way. Whereas if you just have a scripted narrative, like, say you made basically a movie where you press buttons sometimes, you know, you could only really watch it one time. Maybe, you know, you could go back and change some of your choices here and there, see some of the other ways the scenes play out, but it's kind of a one-time deal.
But what you would do is make a movie like Kingdom of Con, or that free-to-play that's coming out soon about Dota and stuff, where you show the people that put their lives and, like, all this effort into the mechanics of a game, and then it becomes more of a personal, like, human story or whatever. So there still is a way you could do, like, a mechanics driven game into a movie. It would just be more about the person behind it at that point. I don't know. We're getting into a weird territory right now. I'm just going to go ahead and say, for my final thoughts on Pokemon X and Y right now, I'm digging it. I am.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. It's just,
I am happy with my purchase. That could also be because I was stuck on the road. I was stuck at my parents' house and so on, where it's like, I have nothing to do for a bit, so I'm going to play a video game. Oh, I'm going to play this DS that's in my pocket. So, like, the portability factor is huge still for me. But I still think it's worth the $40. And I'm still not even a person that would just be like, I have to buy every Pokemon game. The reason I've been playing the other ones is because I've been playing them on emulator. I've been playing them with the ability of an emulator to speed up time, to go through battles faster, to get all the shitty part out of the way, and then I have fun in them. This game finally just is like, not to hell with that. We're going to do stuff so you can actually just have fun through the game without having to grind, which is what they should have done a long time ago, admittedly. But, you know, what are you going to do? They're Nintendo. They milk something for a long time, and then they iterate on it just enough to get people back in for more money.
Actually, yeah, I was listening to some GDC talks from a while ago. That basically, like, I wasn't at GDC, so I obviously couldn't hear Nintendo say this, but it sounds like in one of their conferences they literally said, "Hey, here's the way we do game design. Come up with a great concept and then just iterate forever. Like, just keep iterating, because it's never perfect. So just keep doing it. Just keep iterating it, and people will be there for you, and they'll still love it. And then, like, it's like that is so clearly what Nintendo does.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's just like there's never been like the ultimate Mario experience that is like beyond anything. Like, it's like, well, no, there's gonna be another one, and it's gonna have even crazier levels, or you can fly in this one, or whatever. Like, they've kind of been adding more and more to every one of their franchises. So, yeah, I guess, yeah. It's just they didn't hook me early enough with a couple of them, so I just didn't like. I mean, I don't play a lot of F-Zero either. Like, there's other things along the way that just didn't get me. I guess there also hasn't been many F-Zero games in the recent years, right?
Yeah. And when there is, they pretty much just go back to the the car's got to look weird and go fast.
And if you crash, you blow up and it's over.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing every time with F-Zero. It's just better graphics and stuff, which is fine.
Well, couldn't they do like really crazy like track design or something? Like really bring something to that?
I guess I don't know enough about that, but I don't know. A lot of people got on the Pokemon train, even though you weren't one of them. So yeah. I mean, a lot of the people that listen to what we're doing are really into Pokemon, into Pokemon, to the point where I don't know how to talk to them because I know they know way more than I ever want to know about Pokemon. So it's just like, oh, I caught this guy, and they're just like, fag. Or something. It's just like don't you know that his base special defense is so low that it's not even viable in Endgame Elite Four? Like,
man, when I was playing it, like I was having a good time for a bit. Like, I was like naming my Pokemon because I was like, yeah, man, I got my Pokemon Murphy, and his name was Murphy, and he was like this little mouse guy. And then people were asking me like, so who's your guy? And I was like, I use Murphy a lot. And they're just like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know. I changed the name right away.
That's so good. Oh my god.
I have no idea what it is because I don't care at all about what they are. So whatever, he's my guy. His name is Murphy, and he's awesome. Just people weren't having it. Like, I had what's that rock snake dude? You
Onyx?
Know? Yeah, that guy's name was Rocco. Because why wouldn't you name him that?
Right.
So it made sense to me, but it's getting snarked at by Pokemasters, so that didn't help. That probably didn't help.
It probably didn't. Okay.
I wanted to like personalize my experience and have a goofy time like I would in an RPG, and it was just like.
And you totally can do that too.
Yeah.
But the problem is you might not be able to talk to other people about it.
Yeah, like I'll just never entertain the idea of ever battling anyone and just treat it like there's these wacky RPGs about collecting creatures, and you're just like, I like creatures. Like I had a bunch of pets growing up. Let's do this. I'm gonna have a giant bunch of cat Pokemon that
sure.
Yeah, why not? I'll be a crazy cat man.
I always did find those trainers in the game, like the NPCs that battle you randomly, always funny, where it's just like, I'm this guy, so I have a lot of rock snake Pokemon.
Like, that's my thing. That's what I'm into.
I always found that really kind of endearing in a way, where it's just like, oh, you're adorable. It's just like Hiker Trent or something. You're so cute. Yeah, you're always carrying around these rock Pokemon, all these Geodudes. There's other rock Pokemon, you silly gaffer. Like, I don't know. I always found that kind of funny, but I do want to just kind of go back a little bit and say, with like the Pokemon scene and trainers and masters or whatever you want to call them, they are kind of open still. I mean, look, God forbid you ever say something wrong on the internet in general. If you say something wrong about Pokemon, people will tell you where to go and how to get there and why you're wrong so fucking quick. But if you're like, I'm kind of new, like, what should I do? There will be like 100 people instantly giving you advice, and most of it's good. And they will start talking to each other and start like agreeing on stuff and be like, oh no, he's totally right, you should go this way and stuff. Pokemon brings people on the internet together in a way that I find fascinating and unprecedented. That should not be possible for people on the internet, because it spans so many generations of people now. There's still people our age, obviously, that play Pokemon. There's people that were born like just 10 years ago that are playing Pokemon, and they're able to have conversations on the same level because they understand the mechanics of the game. They understand the different Pokemon and the moves and everything like that. So that when a person like me, when I started streaming Pokemon randomly, I would get like 10 people instantly like that into the chat. And then I'd just be like, I don't really know what I'm doing. The chat would just fill up with shit and just be like, no, don't get this guy, or whatever. Go here, go there, go like click on this. That like it is amazing what the turnout for Pokemon
community. Okay.
But like I said, you ever say something wrong about Pokemon, like just misinformation, not opinion, they will get on you so quick.
So like the chat just now, the last half hour has just been like, oh my god. And it's just like, all right, I'm just saying stuff.
There's literally people, like, when you were saying stuff and just, like, asking questions, there have been a few people just saying, like, just play the fucking game, Nathan.
It's so long, and, like, it's for little kids, right? It's like a baby game? Like, why would I? Now I'm just trolling.
Now you're trolling, but, yeah.
I'm just deliberately being antagonistic there. It's for very serious adults. I don't know who it's for. It's for everybody.
Speaking of bringing people together, though,
yeah.
Quickly, we are doing a Pokemon tournament for Pixel Response for our community.
Okay, Pixelmon. What should we call it?
Pixelmon.
Pixelmon.
Oh my
it's like
God.
Digimon. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, when people are listening,
Pixelmon Classic.
When people are able to listen to this, like download it, tomorrow is the last day to confirm your status.
Dude. My only word classic should be in it because then it sounds like a golf tournament. That's awesome.
Sure.
Yeah. Or like a race, like a classic race. It's like, yeah.
Okay, apparently Piximon is a Digimon. So Marshmallow is like, be careful with what you say, basically.
Okay, sorry to tread on that. I'm just, it's because of our website name. It's not because of Digimon.
We'll work it out. We'll get the writers together. Like, we'll sit in the room and work out.
Yeah, we should have a writers room, like, jam this weekend and figure that out.
Anyways, that's happening Sunday on, I guess it's October 20th. Mm-hmm. We were thinking around 5 p.m. Eastern time. However, that's probably going to get pushed later until maybe 8 p.m. Eastern time because there's a lot of people that have entered that are like, dude, 5 and earlier is way bad because I work, I have school, not school, like I have shit to do. I have a birthday party as one guy because it's his birthday. So it's just like, could you push it back a little bit and all that sort of stuff. So we might do that. We have 9 people signed up out of 16. 16 was the very maximum. 8 was a minimum. So we have met the minimum. However, 3 people are still unconfirmed. So they got to get me their Pokemon team. Like, I don't want any cheating or anything like that. So people are giving me their team as they like build them or whatever. And then I'm just keeping that locked down in my email or in a notepad and sort of thing. So other people can't see it. But I don't like when they battle. If I see a different Pokemon in there, they're disqualified. Like, I don't want them just switching shit up because they like maybe have some information about what another person's using. Very straight and narrow, sort of like, you got to do it this way, guys. You got to do it this way. Anyways, Sunday, October 20th. I'm going to say 8 o'clock Eastern. That's probably when it's going to happen. It's going to be on PokemonShowdown.com. It's a site where you build your team. We're going to do overused tier only, OU only. So people in the know what that means. Obviously, nothing from Generation 6 if they update Pokemon Showdown. So people that haven't given their teams yet, you cannot use any Generation 6 movesets, Pokemon types, any of that sort of bullshit. It will be live on this Twitch channel that we're talking on, but for people that don't know, it's twitch.tv/exposure, EXFAUXSURE. On the site, it's pixel-response.com/poke-tourney. So POKE-TOURNY is the page. I'll be updating that as I have things to update. There's the rules and all that sort of bullshit on there. There's also a contact sheet where you just kind of put in your name, email, and then what Pokemon you're registering for the tournament. And there will be a grand prize. Whoever wins the tournament will be getting a copy of Pokemon X or Y for themselves. So if you have Pokemon X and you wanted Y and you win, I'll send you Y. Again, if you don't have Pokemon at all, I'll send you X or Y if you're choosing. And the last two people will be getting a game from our Steam list or whatever. So places, the first and second place automatically get a game, but then the grand prize will be Pokemon X or Y. So,
okay.
There you go. I don't know. I just thought I should put that in here. The deadline is coming up. I had Wednesday this week, so that's the 16th as the deadline for when I need to know who's confirmed. And I have 3 people unconfirmed, so those people need to get me their Pokemon lists ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
It should be fun, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Would you be around to look at it, to watch it?
I'm going to be in British Columbia that weekend.
Okay.
There was, I'm going there for a funeral, so.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I really didn't want that to get brought up, but I do, we're all sorry for your loss. That sucks.
No, thank you. I saw a bunch of stuff on Twitter too. Thanks to everybody for being nice about that. But yeah, no, that's kind of later than I thought. I thought it would be this past weekend, but yeah.
I kind of thought so too. Every funeral I've had to go to has been maybe 3 days after the time of death.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting, but I guess that's not what happened. So I don't know. I guess it's obviously a tough thing to plan and everything. So I guess it took a while.
Sure.
But yeah, that's coming up. Yeah, there's bad ways I could transition from where I'm going, but let's just talk about Beyond. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you no spoilers because it's a cage joint.
Okay, so at the end of the game, final 2 minutes, there was this crazy thing that happened.
No, I was gonna ask, did you actually beat it?
Yeah, I just finished it last night.
How long is it?
Okay, Sean keeps saying dude, what are you talking about? I beat that game in 2 sessions. He must have been playing that game like crazy, dude. Long ass sessions, because that game.
Sean does that though. He will play a game.
Yeah, I guess it's
straight.
Maybe every time I say a session, he's like, "You mean 6 hours, right?" And it's just no, 3. What do you mean? It seemed a long time. I don't actually have a count for you, but it seemed 10 hours or more.
Yeah,
and for a movie type experience, that's just kind of a long time of you just sitting there.
I'm gonna be honest with you though. Heavy Rain.
Yeah,
I finished that in 1.5 sessions.
Okay. For all of Heavy Rain's faults, I will say that Heavy Rain pulled me in. You know,
okay.
I was I need to see where this is going. Let's do this. This is compelling. Indigo Prophecy, same thing. I was dude, this is really captivating. I did not get the same kind of rush from Beyond Two Souls, and I'm going to say that is mainly because they opt for a non-linear narrative, and it just seems totally, it seems really not thought out. Why is this non-linear? You know,
sure.
That question was never kind of satisfactorily answered for me. It's just well, I don't know. We decided to put this chapter here to kind of start with something crazy, and then this other chapter is over here. But so many times it was why would you tutorial for all these action mechanics really early in the game and then have no action sequence that is remotely like that until the last 4 hours of the game? You know, it's just there's these weird decisions where it's a character gets introduced early in the game and then something really crazy happens with them mid game. And then the explanation as to why they reacted the way they did, it comes later. It just seems it doesn't understand dramatic pacing sometimes. It was just I don't care who this is or what they're doing. And then later the game tries to make me do that in retrospect. It was weird. Huh. So that's just kind of generally speaking about it. But I will say the graphics are amazing. There were some moments, especially in some of the later game set pieces, where I was just wow, I can't believe a PlayStation 3 is doing some of this in terms of just images and stuff. This just looks crazy crisp and awesome. And just variety of just detail and stuff. It was pretty amazing. But and the performance capture stuff is all really great. They obviously invested big in making their people look really good. Like, that seems to be kind of David Cage's weird obsession, is like, if the people's emotions look real, then people will be caught up in them. Like, that's kind of his theory. Like, the more polygons you have, the better those tears will look. So that'll make people sad. And it's just like...
Was he wrong?
Sort of, because it's just like, well, yeah, like, the person is clearly crying, and it looks like a real person crying, but I don't know enough about their situation, or I can't relate enough to what just happened, or I'm still frustrated that the mechanics of your game are so limiting on the player that I just kind of am distanced from what's happening all the time. Like, there's still so many weird problems with how that game plays that I just, like, I felt really, really torn on a lot of the stuff, because it was just like, this sequence is me holding up, but damn, it looks good. Holy crap. Like, I am so bored out of my mind right now by what I'm actually doing mechanically, but man, Ellen Page's walking animation is crazy good. Look at that.
I was going to ask you, how did Ellen Page do in her second game?
This is Last of Us joke?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, was she in another game? Because, like, Willem Dafoe's been in another game before.
Sure.
And he's featured pretty prominently in this one. He was in Everything or Nothing, which I didn't actually play. It was a James Bond game. But yeah, no, like, it's way more Ellen Pagey this time because it's obviously her likeness, and they're going for that. And yeah, I don't know. Like, there were times during the game where I was like, well, this is kind of neat, because, like, I'm a big fan of Ellen Page, and this is, like, crazy stuff that Ellen Page would probably never get to do in a movie. You know, just, like, wonky action sequences, or just kind of ridiculous supernatural nonsense. Like, it's, like, kind of getting at stuff that just wouldn't be produced in a movie, probably, because it's, like, kind of too silly, which is both a plus and a minus. Like, a lot of reviews seem to be, like, really digging at this game for being cheesy, but it's kind of so cheesy that I kind of got into it sometimes. Like, it was kind of like a bad 90s sci-fi movie or something. It's like, man, it's like watching Sphere or something, where it's not good, but it's kind of okay, you know? Or like Event Horizon or something, where it's like so dumb, but that kind of makes it work in a weird way that may or may not be intentional. Like, there are times where, like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people are saying, like, unintentionally cringy and terrible sometimes. That they might be right, but at the same time, like, there's some, like, so hyper ridiculous stuff that happens that's like, they had to know. Come on. Like, what person would be so, like, just tone deaf or whatever that they wouldn't understand that this is insane right now, right? Like,
me?
Okay. Maybe. I don't know. Like, there were definitely scenes where I wasn't sure what to make of them. Like, it's like a weird, like, some sort of Stephen King vibes off some stuff. Like, there were, like, little Carrie overtones here and there, but, like, mixed with Jason Bourne shit. Like, it's just, like, this crazy mashup of all sorts of nutty business that occasionally worked really well. But again, like, I still feel like if they just paced that game differently, it would be way better. Cause
isn't that a Cage problem, though?
I don't know, because I felt Heavy Rain, like, had a good pull-through. Like, it's kind of like, oh, I gotta see what's going on. And then when you find out what's going on, it's really disappointing.
No, I guess you are right. Like, Heavy Rain had the perfect pacing, but to do the pacing right, like, for that game, to make it engaging as a video game, they had to sacrifice writing. So that was a problem. So
there's like just odd holes, and like the payoff is just not there, which was so weird. Because like if you'd have, like, maybe there is a podcast like that week where I'd been partway through playing it, and then you might hear a totally different tone where I'm like really excited about it, because I was really excited about that game partway through playing it, and then kind of like grew more and more bitter about it after I'd finished it and thought back on it.
So it's a David Cage game.
Well, Heavy Rain with Beyond Two Souls. I don't know. Like, there was never really a bitter aftertaste thing. It was more just kind of like it never got to the same heights as some of his previous stuff. But it kind of still looked really impressive in some ways and whatever. Like, I don't know. It's still such a weird avenue for game design. Like, it is like adventure gaming, but with mechanics that are sort of approximating aspects of action games. But okay, actually, I will say, like, this isn't exactly a spoiler, but in Heavy Rain you had multiple protagonists, right?
Yeah.
So, and the game would, like, I think it was in the marketing and stuff too, but it was also true in the game mechanics. Like, there are points in that game where you can lose a protagonist. Like, they can die.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like a high stakes to some of the stuff going on.
Maybe not as much as like they were pimping it out to be, but yes.
No, I know. Like, that's kind of the weird thing is, like, once you go back through it, you see how much of that was smoke and mirrors and them kind of lying to you. Because, like, it's just like, actually, yeah, this character couldn't have died in this sequence.
Maybe because if two specific characters died in, like, sequences before, to be vague, we'll say the junkyard?
Yeah,
the first junkyard point, there will be no more video game.
Like, yeah, there's points where the story would just shatter if something happens, so they obviously can't let that happen. Which is it's kind of some of the stuff that Walking Dead has, too, where it's like, well, there's certain points that just has to happen in the plot line or else it just wouldn't make sense. So they kind of have to come up with reasons for the same events to happen, whether or not someone is there. So like someone else will be there and do the thing or whatever. Like there's been solutions to this problem. Beyond Two Souls, like the way it decides to handle it is just you can't lose. You just can't.
Oh, okay.
Like, and at least I'm pretty confident in saying that because because of the gameplay. Like, the gameplay opts for a much less in your face visual cues thing, which I just watched one of the behind the features things last night, and like I kind of agree with the spirit of their design decision on that. It's like we didn't want to distract the player with stuff like overlaying it. We wanted them to actually focus on what was going on. Which, if you remember back to like Indigo Prophecy, you were basically playing Simon and there was a movie going on in the background, and it was kind of hard to pay attention to everything happening, so you kind of wouldn't get caught up in it, right? Like, it's like, dude's running down the hallway, but you're just like, well, I gotta press left, right, down, up. So that's what I'm caring about, Like, I don't care if dude gets stabbed right now, I just care about hitting my marks or whatever. Like, it kind of ruins the flow. So here they kind of go with a context-sensitive, like, slow motion thing is about to happen and you're supposed to kind of react to the movement. So like, say a dude's throwing a punch at you, you're supposed to kind of look at that punch and then duck the other way. And like, it's all on the right analog stick. Like, that is where like most of your context QTE stuff happens. But because that stuff is kind of sometimes unclear, like there are occasions where dude's throwing punch and you are supposed to counter punch, like beat him to the punch. So you actually push towards him and then punch him. But then there's other times where you're supposed to duck away. Like, that seemed to be how it was for me anyway. Like, I was getting really confused by some of those prompts. So there were fight scenes where Ellen Page is just getting, like, wrecked. Like, just beaten up.
I bet that was kind of awesome to see, though.
Yeah.
They would never do that in a movie.
Yeah, like, it's these like, ridiculous fight scenes that, like, in a movie, like, Jason Bourne is really my favorite comparison point. Like, it's like the most savage fight scene in any of those movies, except it's Ellen Page. So it's just kind of weird and surreal. But at the same time, like, it became clearer and clearer over the course of that game. And it's just like, man, I'm doing terrible at this, but I'm still winning. So I don't think the game will actually punish me beyond not giving me a trophy at the end of this chapter. Or like, Ellen Page's character will have a few more cuts on her face or like bruises or something at the end of this fight scene, but then they'll all be gone in the next story sequence because it happened 6 months later or whatever. Like, they kind of just don't. There's no consequence to screwing up, which that's kind of the way a lot of games are going right now. Is like,
that's gross though.
For this kind of thing, it is kind of weird because it's just like, well, this is literally a movie then. Like, I think you could pretty much turn on that game and just watch it all, and all the dialogue would kind of just default for you, so you wouldn't get to tweak the experience at all. And there'd actually be sections where you'd kind of just be waiting around for a long time. Like, because, I mean, Beyond Two Souls, there's the ghost partner kind of person, right? There's two characters. There's the kind of a ghost gameplay to it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't want to get into, like, the story exactly, but that's kind of the whole, like, it's in all the demos and stuff. Like, there's kind of this other spirit force thing that Ellen Page talks to and has kind of do stuff. In those sequences, you can kind of opt not to do the things the game wants you to, but then your punishment basically is just kind of sit there and watch like a kind of boring cutscene from a weird angle. You know, so it's just like, I don't want Aiden to trash this room, so I'm just gonna not do that. But the game kind of expects me to want to do that, so it's just gonna kind of sit here for a bit until like the characters just kind of grow bored with what's going on. It's kind of like, yeah, like there were definitely, if there's one chapter specifically, I'm just gonna say it's called The Dinner, and I can explain what it is after we've both played it or whatever on a spoiler cast. Sean's talking about doing one, so if you want to play it, you can get in on that maybe. But there's a chapter called The Dinner that just kind of was the culmination of all my issues with that game. Like, it wanting me to do things that I didn't want to do, and I didn't feel like the characters would want to do. Like, it just seemed weird and out of place. And I guess that's kind of maybe my final criticism on it, is like, because it keeps jumping around in time, there's like wild tone shifts in the story. Like, it'll be like one sequence is like watching the Patrick Swayze comedy Ghost, and then the next is like Carrie, and then the next is like Poltergeist 2 or something. Like, it's just like jumping all over the place. Yeah, it's just like retarded, dumb stuff happening, or like really silly comedy beats. Like, it's just kind of one after the other. And it's just, I don't know. It like definitely made me kind of shake my head in confusion a couple times. Like, it was such a weird thing. So, yeah, I guess just final thing, like, as a long time Ellen Page and David Cage fan, like, I've played a bunch of his games and watched a bunch of her movies. Like, even I had a hard time enjoying all of this game. So, I don't know, man. Like, this might not be for a lot of people. Like,
a lot of people are saying that, though.
But that's the weird thing. Like, a lot of people are saying that, but then there's like a small contingent that are like, no, man, 9 out of 10. It's great. GameSpot gave it a 9. So
that was like what people did with Heavy Rain as well, though.
Like, yeah, it seems more divided than Heavy Rain. Like, Heavy Rain was like, you know, most people gave it 8s or 9s, and then there was a few people that were like 6s or 7s, and they're like, I don't know, you guys. This time, those people are more emboldened to be like, no, 4 or 5, and then the other people are still giving it 8s or 9s or whatever. Like, it's kind of drifting further apart into like two camps of like, yeah, it's okay, and nah, this is kind of bad. So
it's just like, yeah, it's okay, 10 out of 10.
Well, I haven't seen like a perfect score for it anywhere, but there's definitely been some kind of 8s and 9s. Like, Polygon gave it an 8. Like, there's people out there that like it, and I didn't entirely dislike it. It's just heavily qualified endorsement on that. Like, it's just like, you know, on the box, like, looks great, Nathan. Like, no one, that obviously wouldn't happen, but I'm just saying, like, I've said things that are great about it. It does look great, and the performances are great, and that's true. But the story is just really weird and all over the place, and the way it's told just seems kind of broken. Like, I don't know why it's non-linear. That's the thing I keep coming back to. Like, I don't see what that adds to that game. Like, I think it thinks it's like teasing you with mystery. So it's like, oh, but what does this mean? And then the context will come later, but it's just like, no, that would have actually probably been more dramatically satisfying if I just saw all of these things in sequence, and then I kind of just got to be with this character over the course of this arc, as opposed to jumping through this arc at random. And they try to kind of write an explanation for why it's so scattershot, like so scatterbrained, but I didn't buy it. It just seemed to be like, that, don't do that. That's just a bad idea. So, yeah, I don't know. It was like aggressively yanking me out of the story quite often. But again,
so what I'm getting out of this,
sorry,
is like, hey, boys and girls, do you hate linear stories but love masturbating to Ellen Page? I got the game for you.
Yeah, you like, Ellen Page is in bed multiple times during that game, and you can just float around by her, and it's weird. It's really weird.
Would you buy Ellen Page?
What? What does that mean?
You know what it means.
Yes.
Where she's just like, oh man, my acting career isn't going so good, but like, I need a little bit of money. Nathan, I will spend the night with you if you give me...
Oh, no, that's not what I thought you meant. No.
Okay, what did you think I meant? Because now I'm interested why he would say he has to buy an Ellen Page if that's not what.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
everybody knows your feelings on Ellen Page, so it's okay.
Robots that approximate human form are inevitable, right?
Okay, so there's already real sex dolls that
Yes,
are basically formed like people, but they
right.
are sex dolls.
Right, but not where you want them to be. Like there's an uncanny valley there. It's no good. It's just creepy.
Oh, I got a quick story. I don't know if this is like something I'm legally allowed to say because it involves my job.
Okay.
But, however, one day we got one of those real sex dolls in a crate. Like it was going to somebody that bought it and shipped it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And customs, like Canadian Customs, was in the warehouse at the time, and they were just doing inspections, and they chose that one randomly. So we cracked it open. Nobody knew what it was. All it said was like mannequin or some bullshit. I don't remember. Not even mannequin. I think it was like personal goods or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know how vague they get? I mean, I don't know if you've ever like ordered porn or like one of those pocket pussies or something like I have over the internet. But
okay, but they're vague about it. They're tastefully like it's
yeah,
like, hey,
where they're just like, okay, it's like the personal massager sort of thing, where it's like everybody knows what it is or whatever, but nobody says. This was the complete opposite, where it was consolidation, because consolidation is like the warehousing term for just basically anything, and then you have to dig into paperwork to see what it actually is. But Customs was like, okay, let's just pop this crate open. They popped it open. All they saw was like what looked like a dead body staring back up at them. And everyone just kind of jumped back like, ah! And, like, then the guy whose freight it was, like, not the person, the customer, but like there's different in my company, there's different like littler companies and divisions. So that guy just like started poking it, and he's like, "Oh, it's a sex doll." But I'm just like, why would you poke what you think is a dead body?
Just to know. And plus, that's the thing everybody does in all the movies. You poke the dead body with a stick, and then you know what's up.
No, he poked it with his finger. But anyways, yeah, that was funny. And then, like, the guy that picked it up when it was all cleared and paid for and all good to go, he wasn't shy about it at all. He's like, "Yeah, it's a fuck toy." Just like load in the back of my truck.
Yeah, okay.
He's just like not shy about it at all. And then that guy that poked it was asking him about it, like how much it was and all that sort of stuff. And I was just like, this is getting really weird and uncomfortable.
Okay.
But anyways, so sex doll, that's what you thought, like a sex doll shaped like Ellen Page?
No. I was hoping more aspirational to the future. If you've seen that Futurama episode where Fry orders a Lucy Liu, it would be like that, except not Lucy Liu.
So you're saying you wouldn't fuck Ellen Page?
I didn't say that.
But you're not officially saying it in those terms.
I'm not officially saying either way. But yeah. Beyond Two Souls in stores now.
Yeah, so okay. I'll probably be getting that one this weekend, like when I have a weekend again.
I mean, honestly, I've finished playing it. Do you want to borrow it? Like, we could do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, and I can get Demon Souls back to you. So, there you go.
Consider you have that for free off of PlayStation Plus now anyway.
I know, I was like, why do I... After I borrowed it from you, but before after I downloaded it and stuff, it's just like, I don't need this disc anymore. What am I doing? But, yeah, so there's that. Just briefly, follow up on last week's movie, Captain Phillips.
Yeah.
Apparently, the world is now angry at Captain Phillips, the real Captain Phillips, because apparently that's like a completely Hollywoodized story that totally glamorizes his behavior and stuff that happens. So, yeah, I don't know about that. It's kind of weird. Like, specifically, like, okay, I guess I never looked at the movie as like really making this dude look like a great hero. Like, he doesn't really do anything. Like, at some point, he's just kind of taken hostage in lieu of perhaps his crew being taken hostage is kind of the one maybe pseudo-heroic thing that happens.
Okay.
So, like, there's a line of dialogue where it's just like, if you're going to shoot anybody, shoot me. That apparently never happened. Like, that has a bunch of his crew members kind of shouting bullshit anonymously, like, kind of coming out of the woodwork saying, like, this just didn't happen. Like, this is kind of... Like, he was just not a good manager, essentially. Like, he's not a good captain. Like, he was sailing way too close to the coast despite a bunch of warnings. Like, there is a scene in the movie where, like, he's receiving emails and one of them is a piracy warning that he kind of just doesn't do anything about. So they kind of acknowledge that he might not have been as astute as he should have been, but they also have him kind of doing security drills and stuff that, like, right when stuff starts to go bad, and that did not happen. It was apparently actually a fire drill. But whatever. Real history is clashing with the way movies depicted it, and people are mad. So, I don't know. I felt kind of weirdly obligated to say, like, my critique was just, this is not that entertaining of a movie after the 1 hour mark.
Sure.
You know? Like, it's like, well, that first hour was really cool, but the second hour, I don't know. But then the last bit was exciting. That's just in terms of movie. I do not care at all what happened with the actual Richard Phillips, really. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't. If I did, I would have
fuck
probably,
that guy.
well, whatever. I would have, like, read into this story when it happened, like, 3-4 years ago.
No. PixelResponse.com says fuck that guy. Officially. Shots fired.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, he gives a shit. I don't know anything about him. I don't care.
Yeah, I like Tom Hanks. That's why I went and saw it. It had nothing to do with my opinions of ship captains or whatever. I'm not even nervous about that. It's more just like, I don't know.
Would you fuck Tom Hanks if he was a sex doll?
No.
What about if he was a real person? A real boy?
He is a real person.
Yeah, but like...
and also, no. What do you mean?
That came out wrong.
And then became a human. So there's like a clone of Tom Hanks, essentially.
No, like, if I'm going to fuck Tom Hanks, I'm going to fuck the real Tom Hanks.
You'll deal. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't settle for second best in anything else in my life. I'm going to get the real one. You know what I mean? Okay. But, like, that would be weird to be the guy that fucked Tom Hanks. It'd be like Philadelphia all over again. It's
true. That movie. And Tony Banderas.
That was a good movie, actually.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, I didn't strike me the same way like Forrest Gump did, but I kind of didn't like that movie in every way either.
Forrest Gump.
It's just so corny, but it's like kind of charming about it. I don't know.
Forrest Gump is the best way to just do a film set in a period of time in the dumbest way possible, where it's like, you know, all this important stuff that happened, this guy. Right.
Yeah, like it's just like we were at all of that stuff, all of everything that you remember from the newspapers that came out of like the 60s or whatever, like any newsreel afterwards. He was there. He was hanging out there. It's just like, oh hey, Martin Luther King Jr., what's up? All right, later. Oh hey, JFK, what's going on? Like just whatever. Like any opportunity to kind of shove him near a historical figure.
It was so good though. I love that part about it.
It's whimsical. It's like Americana to the max.
Sure. So, and that's what makes it corny as hell. But it's fine. Corny.
Yeah. Man. I don't know how to bounce out. Okay.
You know what else is corny?
Rush.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No. I'm not gonna see that. Is it any good?
I'm gonna say kind of no. Not really. But I'm also kind of not a gearhead kind of guy. I don't care about cars at all.
Sure.
Like, I mean, I'll choose the sports car in the Grand Theft Auto and then drive it off a mountain and go, that was awesome. But like, I don't care about it. You know, the engineering of it or any of that. I don't. That does not get me going at all.
I'll play some Forza, but I won't finish it. I'll play a race.
Yeah, I played some Dirt back in the day. I thought that was cool.
Dirt was actually pretty good. Dirt was good.
Yeah, I don't mind actually driving a car. I just don't really care about what it is or what it's got under the hood or whatever. Like, none of that stuff does anything. So this movie, like, I don't know. It doesn't exactly fetishize cars completely, but some of the characters are just they're racers from the 70s, so they're obviously kind of into cars. So some of that stuff just wasn't really popping for me. Like, there's a line of dialogue early in the movie that's just kind of hyperbolizing man's relationship with cars in a way that I was just like, no, I don't think this movie was made for me, but okay. This is a bad sign 10 minutes in or whatever, but here we go. Yeah, this movie's about a rivalry that took place in the 70s between Niki Lauda and James Hunt. Going into the movie, I was under the impression this was like a decade-long, like, historic sports rivalry. Like, between 1975 and 1985, these dudes raced every single year. They just traded wins back and forth, and it was amazing. And it's just like, no, it was like one season. Like, it was just kind of like, I was just like underwhelmed by what the movie actually was chronicling. Like, it's just like, yeah, in 1976, Niki Lauda was winning like a bunch, and then he was in this crazy accident, and then James Hunt was winning a bunch of races while he was gone. But then Niki Lauda was like, I want to get back in there. So then he came back, and then James Hunt placed third, but that's enough to get you points to win, and then he won, and yeah. And
I'm going to be completely honest with you right now.
You're just like falling asleep?
I think I kind of like lost brain cells trying to keep up with what you're talking about because I don't care.
Exactly. So it was like watching what I just said take place like stretched over 2 hours, but then it kind of making sure you understood that they had a strange respect for each other.
Who won?
James Hunt.
Okay, but who's James Hunt? Like in the movie?
James Hunt is Chris Hemsworth.
Okay, so Thor won the epic battle. Got it.
Thor, sort of, but he kind of lost the war, if that's fair to say. Like, I honestly...
So he is exactly like Thor in that respect, too.
He's kind of short-sighted. Like, he kind of just traded his talent for fame, but kind of flared out early. Whereas Niki Lauda was kind of more serious about being a racer or whatever. Like, I guess that was part of the problem was... Like, the movie kind of spends equal time juggling between the two characters, which is a thing movies do all the time. Like, it's like, hey, you got Heat or something, where it's like, well, we're over here with Al Pacino, but then we're switching over to Robert De Niro. We're kind of, like, building them up, and then they're going to kind of clash at some point. Whereas, like, totally different context, obviously, but whatever. Or, like, you know, you got, well, I guess Rocky spends 90% of its time with Rocky. So that's not really a fair comparison, but whatever. They treat their characters as though they're equally interesting, but I found Niki Lauda pretty interesting, and I found James Hunt just kind of dumb. Like, Chris Hemsworth's character, I just was not interested in any of his plight, because it was kind of just self-induced. Like, it's just like, yeah, he's a drunk playboy. He's kind of a giant child. I don't really care about this guy.
I got a better question for you.
Yeah.
Who would win in a race between Chris Hemsworth,
okay,
and Vin Diesel?
In cars?
Yeah.
Or running? Okay.
Actually, both.
Well, I mean,
why not?
Running, I'm going to say Chris Hemsworth. He's just a younger, more fit dude. I could see that happening.
Dude's muscular.
If he's got his long hair, that's kind of some drag, right? So that might not help him, whereas you got that sleek chrome dome, you know.
Sure.
Vin just cuts through the winds. Maybe.
Vin Diesel might be more aerodynamic as well.
Yeah. He just points that dome of his forward and just kind of charges forward. Just there's like this cone coming off him.
Yeah.
Probably. But in cars, I mean, just like if you're just gonna be real dumb about it, the class of cars they're driving in this movie are F1. So if you pit an F1 against a muscle car, I think the F1 car wins. That's just science, right? That's just how this happens. Unless you turn real good and then the car wipes out or something. I don't know.
Okay, so who would win between the winner of that race versus Lucas Black?
Okay, so Lucas Black now enters the scene.
Yeah. Because he's the Vin Diesel for Tokyo.
I know. Are we drifting in this race at all, though?
Yes.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a drift race now, and Chris Hemsworth won the first one because he got an F1 car, but now it's a drift race and he's got an F1 car. He's fucked. It's over.
So I guess what we're saying is Tokyo Drift is the best film about cars ever made.
Tokyo Drift? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He would win.
Whatever. So different. I mean, they're obviously going for different things, but was I more entertained? Absolutely. But that's not really fair to Niki Lauda's life or whatever. Like, I feel bad. Like, it's like a biopic, right? But it's like a biopic about people I literally didn't know anything about until I sat down in my seat.
Or care about, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like I mean, but really, just watching the story that was presented to me, Niki Lauda's story is so much more interesting because he gets like totally burnt up in an accident and then comes back to race. So he's like this weird, like just scarred up dude, but he still wants to race. Like he just has a better arc to his story than I'm drunk and I got divorced and I'm sad. And you're just like, I don't care. Like I throw up sometimes too when I'm stressed out. It's like, shut up, Chris Hemsworth. Come on, grow up.
Okay, Nathan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry about what I was saying before.
What?
I agree with you. It's ridiculous to have a muscle car versus an F1 car.
Okay.
And it's even more ridiculous to expect an F1 driver to drift.
Yeah.
So who would win in the epic battle between Chris Hemsworth and Sylvester Stallone in Driven?
Driven has come up in conversation a couple times because of this movie. Because it's like, oh, F1 movie, Driven, and it's just like, no, I don't think it's trying to be in that class of thing.
I kind of thought it was because it looked as dumb to me from the trailers. So I was just like, if I'm gonna watch a stupid movie about F1, I'd rather watch the one with the guy that can't talk properly.
Yeah, maybe there's something to that. I don't know. Like, it was also just kind of this weird reminder of like, Ron Howard is just not a director I resonate with much at all,
or a good human being.
Like, it was kind of like, it just brought back kind of this thing. Like, I've been getting more and more into Stephen King lately, and I'm kind of like building up to the grand stretch of reading all the Dark Tower books.
Yeah,
and it's just like, more than ever, like, keep Ron Howard the hell away from those things. Like, he is underqualified. Don't let him do it. Just don't let him do it. Like, stop returning his calls. Like, just whoever has the license, just full on snub Ron Howard, and don't let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, look what he did with Arrested Development. That series is terrible.
Oh my god. Season 4 is bad.
Okay, thank you for finally being the first person to agree with me. Every time I say Arrested Development's bad, people are like, oh, you're just not watching it properly, or like you just don't understand it. It's like, no, it's just bad. It's fucking bad. None of the characters are worth a shit, and none of them are likable.
Oh man, like I've agreed with you previously on this podcast. Like, go back a year or two about development, but no, like season 4 just nails it home in so many ways because it's just like, oh man, Mitch Hurwitz's brain is just turned to silly all the time, and it's not funny. Like, it's just inherently goofy, but that doesn't play. It just doesn't work. I don't see it. Like, like, it got nominated for Emmys and all that stuff. People are still kind of fawning over it, and it's just like, I like Michael Cera, you know? Like, I like things in here. David Cross has been funny, but it is not coming together on this show right now, and I don't understand how people aren't seeing it or overlooking it because they like things about what's happening. I don't know. I never saw the magic in that show. People were comparing that show to like Seinfeld and stuff, saying like this is the new thing for TV comedy. And I watched it all, but it never kind of sprung to life the way they were saying. It's a really, really goofy show. And goofy isn't kind of my thing anymore. And it dated material, like it's kind of dates itself with the stuff it references too. Like, if you go back to the original run of the show, it's like, oh, remember Saddam Hussein? Well, you better, because like that's what this show is about. Just Saddam Hussein jokes all the time. And now that chapter of history is over, it kind of is just old now, and it kind of doesn't work. And like this one's like, hey, remember the financial crisis? And it's like, oh yeah, I guess. Well, you better think that's funny because that's what this season's about. And it's like, why did you put, like, it's putting its eggs in one basket, and then you kind of just watch them shatter in slow motion, and then, I don't know. Blech.
We should give him a little credit. Apollo 13 was good.
I know, that's kind of the one I keep going back to.
But I don't know if that's so much him or the amazing cast he had and people working with him.
The cast definitely helps. I think it also helped that I was like 8 years old. So
that movie still holds up, though. Like, it's still...
Well, I mean, it's like in my like pop culture DNA now, though. Like, I can never objectively see that movie. So, I don't know anymore. Like, I'd have to watch it with someone who's never seen it or heard of it, and they'd be like, what did you think? Because I don't know. I love this movie because like the music just comes up at the end, and you're just like, yeah, and Ed Harris is there, and he's being all NASA, and it's awesome, and like, yeah, like I really dig that movie, but I don't know if it plays the way I think it does, because I was too young to really appraise it at the time. Like, maybe it's just corny as hell. It could be. It's like hey,
everything else he's done.
Well, it's like this thing happened in history, and like maybe my response now would be like, yeah, so what? Like, what? What
about Ransom? Give me back my son!
Yeah, Gary Sinise is in both of these, and I don't know. Gary Sinise.
What about A Beautiful Mind?
I saw it one time, and I thought
it's pretty okay that one time.
It is it's a pretty okay movie. Ed
I
Harris
will
was all,
never watch it again.
I kind of have never felt I needed to.
Sure.
It's like, I think I absorbed literally everything this movie has in the one viewing. So it's kind of wrung dry already, like it's over. But okay. Like, yeah, I don't know. Ron Howard, man. Made like Backdraft. It's got fire in it.
Fuck that guy.
Okay.
Should we just have a segment on this podcast called Fuck That Guy, and then we choose a guy that we're just like, yeah, fuck that guy, that we agree on?
I mean, I've been feeling weirder and weirder about doing that because it's just kind of like, who are we to kind of pass these harsh judgments on, like...
I'll tell you who we are. We're the voice of the internet. We give a voice to people that are not able to give their own voice. Although that's not true. Voicemails are now a thing, so please leave a voicemail on pixel-response.com.
Yeah. But I don't know. I still feel super weird about, like, well, someone's working really hard doing this creative thing, and then they present it to you, and you just go, nah, it's not very good. What else you got?
Yeah, but have you ever worked on something? Because people have done that to me, like, my whole life. So
this is like payback time.
It's not payback. It's just kind of like
even. That's just how it goes.
There has been people, like, I have done stuff where people are like, this is pretty good, but you could change this. And there have been people that are just like, what's this bullshit sort of thing?
Mm.
And, like, we're doing that too. Like, we do give credit where it's deserved. Like Apollo 13. Even though it might not be great, it is still so iconic in our...
I still fondly remember a lot of things about it, but, like, I'm still kind of in this trepidatious place where I'm just like, well, I wouldn't put it next to, like, like on some sort of definitive, this is extremely important, it's imperative. I don't know, like, your mileage may vary. I guess I feel like that about volunteering any opinion, though, which also makes me equally irritated with any critic ever, because it's just like, well, not so much critics, but, like, any list of stuff, it's like, 1,000 movies you need to see. And you're just like, no, I don't. Fuck off.
Okay.
Like,
can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel a little bit weird about this because I love the dudes dearly. Like, I fucking love them. They're our brethren in the podcasting world on the internet.
Okay.
But one of the last episodes Vent Chat did, they did like a top 10 movies, like movies we would take with us on like a voyage for 50 years through space or whatever. And to me, it felt like they were listing off a bunch of movies that you would see on IMDb's top 100 movies of all time. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, that, and not just them, specifically when people are like, oh, this is in my top 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
That annoys me because I'll tell you one thing. My top 10 movies, sure, some of them will be on, like, the top 100 of all time sort of thing. But my top 10 movies I would bring with me that I could watch over and over are going to be the stupidest garbage. Because they're fun, and they make me forget about my shitty life here in space for 50 years. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to watch The Godfather 100 times. I'm just not going to do it. I might watch Scott Pilgrim like 10 times, which I have already.
That's decent mileage out of that movie, yeah. So I get what you're saying. Like, I guess that's kind of why I did resonate with the Desert Island Discs way of doing things, because it wasn't like, what is the list of things you'd want to bring? It was like, what is your personal thing that you would listen to? Like, it's like, what is your, like, super, only relevant to you list of things? Like, you're not trying to kind of pass this on to anyone else. So, like, this space scenario sounds like you're kind of like, these are things that need to be preserved for the future of humanity. Like, these movies need to go with humans out into the universe so that they have them as a constant reminder or something.
Like, maybe I interpreted it as, I'm on a voyage for 50 years. What am I going to want to watch?
Okay.
That's what I interpreted it as.
Right, because then, at that point, it's like, well, I'm not trying to impress people. Like, I like Akiru. That's a good movie. There's no way in hell I would bring that on a spaceship, because I would just be super depressed all the time. It'd just be the saddest thing in the world. So, no, that doesn't make the cut. Gremlins 2 makes the cut, because I have a fun time every time. That's a fun movie. So I'd watch that and just chuckle every now and then. That'd just be, I need a little lighthearted bit of stupid nonsense right now. Gremlins 2 is there for you.
Can we talk about something real quick?
Yeah.
I just clicked on a link on imdb.com.
Yeah.
And I was looking at Ron Howard. I was seeing like what he's done, and it's a lot of bullshit. But anyways, that's not what we're talking about. I clicked on this thing that's like his star-o-meter or something.
Okay.
His star meter, and it's a ranking of who's popular on IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Paul is number 6 out of like 1,000. How is that a thing?
Dude, because I don't know if you've heard, but Breaking Bad is still like at the peak of...
Sure. But let me tell you who he's in company with here.
Okay.
Bryan Cranston is number 9. He is 3 spots lower than Aaron Paul.
His co-star. It's kind of weird, but I guess maybe because he has a project coming up, so maybe he's just kind of a little more relevant right now.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah,
number
Hunger
5.
Games 2 is almost out. So
it's number 5, so that's fine. Miley Cyrus is number 4.
All right, well, that's just the meme twerking thing. That's a temporary blip.
Sure. Okay. Number 3, we got Chloe Grace Moretz because she's becoming of age and everyone wants to fuck her.
Well, also Carrie's almost out, so... Okay.
Carrie.
I want Carrie, but okay, fair enough. Whatever.
Number 2 is Charlie Hunnam or whatever.
Well, that's just because he just lost the part of Christian Grey from the 50 Shades movie.
Sure. And number 1 is Scarlett Johansson.
Okay. Again, I feel terrible that I know all of the stupid pop culture reasons all of these things are this way, but Scarlett Johansson just got voted Sexiest Woman Alive for the second time. So people are clicking.
Do you think she is?
No.
Like, all time is a hard one. That's saying my top like hottest video game of all time. Like
right. Sorry, I don't think it's all time. I think it's alive. Sexiest Woman Alive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that does actually put a damper on it a little bit.
Yeah, it's like super relevant to just right now. Then you can't just be like, well, in her prime. It's like no. Like Grace Kelly's dead. Stop being weird. Don't do that kind of thing.
She's got them tits though.
Who? ScarJo or
ScarJo?
Okay.
Yeah. ScarJo. Oh my god.
We just used that.
I just found a picture of Scarlett Johansson with Steve Buscemi's eyes.
That's creepy. I like Steve Buscemi though. That dude's face has so much character. It's great.
Yeah. No, I love that dude.
Oh man. All right. Prepare for horrible.
Yeah.
There she is.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty top contender of being on the podcast splash screen picture.
Jesus. All right. So much is in the eyes. That's really...
I just love how you're like, Jesus.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, man. Anyways, okay. So, again, I digress, but, like, I forgot what we were talking about. We were talking about Ron Howard, and then I clicked on that link.
Yeah, where was he ranked, dude? That's the final thing, right?
Where was he ranked?
Yeah.
He's under top 500, and he's down 216 this week.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I would have to click around. And I can't because you need IMDb Pro for awesome things like people's opinions.
Right.
So
and there's not enough sources of those out there, so whatever.
Like, what would remember that thing I said where it's like, if you dislike something, you just type blank sucks in Google or whatever?
Yeah.
So, Ron Howard.
Oh, no,
sucks.
There's a lot of people that don't like Ron Howard. I am not the first person to be really, really nervous about the Dark Tower possibilities, so don't.
So, the top result when you put Ron Howard fucking sucks is from democraticunderground.com.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to describe why, because I'm not going to click the link because I don't care. I just want to see what popped up. But that is the top page for all your fuck Ron Howard needs, I guess. Oh, anyways, the reason we got onto this is because we're talking about top 10s and like top 10 list of all time movies and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
There is a top 100 list on IMDb, and like I said, I probably don't agree with a lot of them. So That's just me. Like, my personal list does not match up, I guess. That's coming back all the way around to where we started and just saying my opinion.
Well, it's also a weird thing because it kind of only reflects on, well, this is the most broadly appealing movie that exists. Like, that's what it actually is measuring. So
Yeah,
it's not like
it is.
everyone who watches Shawshank Redemption says it's the greatest movie that ever happened. No. Everyone who watches it, though, says, yeah, that was good. And some people say, yeah, that was great. And some people say, that was my favorite movie. And then if you like flatten that out, a lot of people, generally speaking, like that movie. I like that movie. It's just not my favorite movie at
Right.
all.
Sure.
So it's like kind of like this weird thing where it's just like, I am still contributing to it having a really high score because I'm not going to slam it because that's just not true. Like, I don't hate it at all. At all. So, yeah, like, but once you get to kind of lower down, it's like, well, this movie, a lot of people who see it don't like it. They give it like a 5. But some people who see it love it and think it's amazing, and they give it a 10. And then it kind of gets more and more specialized. So it's like, well, this impacted a smaller number of people more profoundly. So does that make it great? Like, kind of. It all becomes just super relative and opinions and all that. Like, it's kind of just idle talking at some point.
Just like
Movies.
this podcast.
Kind of, but at the same time, hopefully it's enriching something. That's what I like to think.
Pulp Fiction is ranked number 4. That's kind of weird. The reason I bring that
Like
up
that
is I
movie,
watched Pulp Fiction last night.
Yeah.
So that movie's okay. That's not a number 4.
It's not my number 4. It's not my number 4, but it is the internet's number 4. It is IMDb.com's like, yeah, this is fun.
Would you say on your number 4 or number 10 list, Fight Club would rank higher than Pulp Fiction if they were both on there?
Oh,
because the internet doesn't agree if it does. Fight Club's way down.
Yeah, I that's such a weird comparison, I guess, but I'm going to say personally, no. I get more joy and I refer back to Pulp Fiction more.
Sure.
So I know it's derivative from 70s stuff or whatever and all that, but something about that movie just kind of amused me more. Whereas Fight Club is kind of weirdly self-serious at times and kind of angsty. And that's cool too, and it's hella stylish, but it didn't do it for me the same way. Like, or at the same time, I enjoy the emotions of I'm having a good time more than I enjoy, I'm kind of weirdly dissatisfied with society and credit card companies. You know? It's it's that kind of thing. Where it's like, I like these emotions more, and this movie produces that output, so I will watch this. It's not a great reason, but that's just how it is.
Where would Haxan, Witchcraft Through the Ages, rank?
Man. Well, relative to silent movies I've seen, it's pretty interesting. Okay, I guess for those that don't know, which this is a relatively obscure movie, sort of, whatever. I hadn't heard about it before this week. I don't think I've ever heard about it. I have seen a clip of it unconsciously because it has monsters in it, and I'm a fan of monsters. So in a movie I saw about movie monsters, there was a small snippet from this in there. But yeah, this is a movie from 1922 that is sort of a documentary of sorts, at least claims to be, about witchcraft through the ages, dating back to like really ancient times up to modern day, which at the time was the 1920s, so that still seems crazy old now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's almost 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's divided into 7 chapters, and they just kind of progressively get more and more just kind of amused by their subject matter, and it like kind of becomes less serious. Like, okay, I guess the thing was early in the movie, like, I mean, it's Swedish, right? So there's just like the cards that come up because it's a silent movie are kind of intercut with like just weird craziness going on, and I couldn't shake the vibe that, wow, like Monty Python had to have seen this movie.
Okay.
Holy Grail, you know, like it just kind of fit with that mental image, made sense of them watching it, and then that kind of informing their wacky credit sequence. Like, I don't know if you remember the credit sequence at the beginning of Holy Grail, but it's like in Swedish ostensibly. And it keeps
I don't remember at all. No, sorry.
Super Special Eyes. For those hardcore Monty Python fans, you know what I'm talking about. Check out Haxon for some behind the scenes on that. In theory, I don't even know if that's true. Maybe tweet John Cleese and ask. But whatever. Haxon, I will admit, I did get a little sleepy at one point, mainly because I was kind of tired, and it's a silent movie, so there's like one less thing occupying my attention, and I'm not proud of that. Like, as a film viewer, like, I have a film minor and stuff, I have fallen asleep in film classes. I will admit that. There are movies that are just like, this is an experimental film, and it's silent, and the filmmaker kind of just films outside his car window for like 40 minutes, and you're just like, oh man, and then before you know it, you have fallen asleep, and you wake up when the lights come up and the movie is over, which is kind of perfect, actually. If you're going to fall asleep in a class, film classes are the ones to do it, because the lights come up, and then you're right back in it. So you just kind of have to remember what you saw at the beginning of the movie, and you can still join in the discussion. So, pro tip for any film minor, film major people out there, there you go. But yeah, Haxon, it was kind of amusing. Like, it's like weird little anecdotes about witches. Like, there's a bunch of nuns in a monastery, and they're kind of just get cabin fever and kind of go crazy at some point. But of course, they describe it as the devil kind of corrupted them all. There's just weird reenactments of like witch rituals. Apparently, kissing the devil's ass was a thing.
Okay.
So there's just like dude in devil costume kind of leaning against the table, and a bunch of ladies come up and kiss his ass, and you're just like, this is really weird. This is weird.
Would you kiss the devil's ass for a chance to fuck Ellen Page?
No. Why?
Yeah.
Keeps coming back to that.
I don't know. I had to think of something you might want for like kissing the devil's ass. I actually am more interested in this idea of kissing the devil's ass because I'm pretty sure it would be like some weird agreement that your soul is now void or something, but I had to relate it to you somehow, and that just brings it back to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Also, kind of just the anecdotes of like, you know, you point out someone in your midst and accuse them of being a witch because you don't like them, and then they are on the stand and then just kind of point it right back at you, and eventually you have kind of a witch hunt scenario where everyone is a witch and they're all going to be executed and that kind of stuff. Like, stories like that happen. And yeah, I don't know, like, it's definitely like a weird old movie. Like, okay, here's kind of like just a thought process that kind of stirred up from it, though. I wish I had seen this in a way where it's just kind of like I found it in like some weird video store or something. I didn't know
like how I saw Begotten.
Sure. Like, what's
have you seen Begotten?
No.
Oh, okay. So I just quickly looked it up on IMDb right now because I don't know how to explain it, but the synopsis for it is gory and entirely visual film tells a surreal tale of the death and rebirth of gods.
Okay.
But anyways, what it's known for is it's black and white, like high contrast black and white, no grays in it really at all. Mm-hmm. And it shows a dude disemboweling himself in the first like act or whatever. So it's like the death of a god, I think is what's called, or something like that. And he's like cutting his stomach open, and the blood's black and everything's black, and he's dressed in white. So it's like very contrast heavy and kind of gross because you hear him moaning in pain and shit like that. It's very much like a snuff film sort of idea, but like it's done in like a horror fantasy sort of way where it's not real.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, the way I watched that ever first is that my friend, I think it was episode 35 or something, Jamming with James, my friend James.
Yeah.
It's like, he's the one that like I talk about horror movies with a lot, and we do that sort of thing. He gave it to me on a blank VHS tape with a piece of tape he taped on there and wrote Begotten on it.
Oh, okay.
And that's how
it
I
kind of like
it.
Adds a little mystery to it.
Yeah, so it's just like this. Yeah, I think I was with Aaron at that point where I was just like, hey, I got this tape, want to watch it? And then we watched it and we're like, this is fucked up.
Yeah, like I kind of wish some extra element of like discovery or weirdness was to it, because it was just kind of like, oh, this is on Criterion, like this is a well-regarded classic film from like 90 years ago or whatever. Like, it's just like going into stuff armed with like a lot of information is sometimes a weird detractor. because you kind of wish it could be mysterious. Like you kind of stumbled into this weird theater in like, Poland or something. Like, it's just like if you found this movie under the right circumstances, it could blow your mind. Like it's really. But because it was kind of presented to me as like this is a weird movie, and it was with my friend who I watch weird movies with, it was kind of like you're kind of just in a state where you're kind of ready to receive something strange. So I kind of just was, and I kind of just grooved on it. Like it was cool. Like it's still kind of a weird, odd movie in a lot of ways, and I'm glad I know about it now. But I kind of wish that kind of mystery surrounded it a little.
You kind of wish you had the weird friend that gave it to you on a blank VHS tape.
Well, apparently for years before it was re-released on Criterion and all this stuff, like there was kind of just bad, hacked up cuts of it circulating around, and like that's like terrible in terms of visual quality, but it would also be kind of awesome.
Yeah, no, totally. It makes the film better somehow.
I found this like century-old documentary about witches, man. Like it'd just be like, oh, this is crazy. But yeah, like less information is more sometimes.
It's like when you find that weird book in the like forest or the clearing sort of thing, and then you just pick it up. It's like it's this weird book. I don't know what's in it or who wrote it, but it's amazing.
Sure, or even not necessarily in a forest, but like going antiquing or whatever, or like going to weird old bookshops when you find like a single release thing, like this never got republished because no one cared, but it kind of just becomes this like weird little thing where you kind of just have this artifact from the past or whatever. Like it's just like, oh man, this is great. Like no one cares about this. Like I'm the first person to read this in 28 years or something. Like who knows? Whereas if it's like, no, this became really popular and was released and it was actually the inspiration for this album or whatever, like all this stuff, you kind of just like, oh,
it like, loses everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't discover anything. Like I was so late to this party, I'm now just kind of bummed out that it happened.
That was Clerks for me. People always give me the anecdote online or like people that like Kevin Smith movies that I meet like other places where they're just like, the way I came onto it is like it was just this weird kind of tape sitting in the video store and I rented it. And it was like watching somebody's day at work sort of thing. And it was kind of neat and weird and voyeuristic. Like I discovered something. Like I watched Clerks way after that because I was too young when Clerks came out to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know what it was. So I watched it way after that. And I didn't get that sense of discovery.
Yeah, like once there is a legend around it, it's kind of hard for it to live up to it. So it's just like...
Sure.
Yeah, like people would be like, "Oh man, you haven't seen Clerks? You got to see Clerks." Like I worked at a video store, and I was like, "Okay, I'll go see Clerks." And then I was like, "Yeah, it was okay." And they're like, "What are you talking about? That's like retail, man, in a nutshell." And I was like, "Okay."
37 dicks.
Yeah, like yeah, like people just quoting it to me and just like loving that movie in a way I just never ever could because the world I saw it in was different. So
okay, I got to go ahead and put a little note on what I just said though. It still resonated with me because when I did finally watch it, I was working at a gas station. Like I was a clerk. So that helped a lot. So, yeah, but yeah, no sense of discovery, but very much a like, hey, I know that idiot that asks for like ice in his coffee and gets mad when he has to drink it hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know those people. So this is great. This is amazing.
No, yeah, sometimes it just seems to work out where you see a movie right after or during a phase of your life where it's kind of like, oh man, like you just kind of get in the same wavelength as whoever made it, and you're kind of you're just getting some more out of it than the average person might.
I never saw Die Hard 2 until I started working at an airport.
That would also add an extra layer to that movie, I'm sure.
It was pretty good.
So maybe I should watch, like, are there any bookstore clerk things? Or
there has to be, right?
Horror people? Yeah, I should check some out. I don't know. Or like there was like a weird horror movie that Sam Raimi had a cameo in like the 80s that took place in a grocery store. And like for a while I worked at a grocery store, so I could like recall back to my days in produce and then be like, yeah, what if there was a slasher in the grocery store and he used the cardboard compactor to crush your head? And it was like, yeah, that would be a thing that could happen. Like it kind of makes the dumbest stuff.
Oh, what the fuck was that? The Mist. A lot of that takes place in a grocery store, right?
Also that, yeah. But that was even, well, actually no, that would have been between the times, like after I'd already left the grocery store, but before I'd seen this movie too. Anyway, but yeah, it does take place in a grocery store. So
Bookstore's hard.
yeah. Bookstore is a little more niche, yeah, a little
Like,
more.
I would
Or at the same time, it would be like not a big, corporate bookstore other than You've Got Mail or something. It would be like, oh, it's this quirky little bookstore. It's got like weird cult books or something. Or it's like, yeah, that doesn't happen here. So that's not an option. Or those do exist, but guess what? They have like no hours.
The Page Master?
Realistic. I loved the Page Master growing up. Maybe in a weird way, it's like, yeah, 7-year-old Nathan's watching the Page Master, and then 26-year-old Nathan's working at a bookstore. And do you know why? Because of that movie. It just directly sunk into his brain, and he's like, Christopher Lloyd is this magic wizard. He teaches the kids about reading.
Books, bitch.
Books. I liked books. I still like books.
You still like books. There's something about the smell of a book when you crack it open the first time that no convenient iPad or Kobo or whatever will ever replicate.
I know, like, I totally academically get the appeal of e-readers, because it's like, man, you could carry like 100 books with you, but it's just like, yeah, but I'm never like jumping from book to book all the time, so that's not even, that doesn't make sense. Like, unless I'm going on a long trip somewhere, and I don't want to take like a giant thing full of books, then that doesn't matter. That is not a selling point to me.
Oh, dude. Like, music, and the first time you crack the spine, so good.
But you get what I mean? Like, do you have an e-reader? Or?
I have what the hell is it? Nexus 7 tablet, which I use as my comic book reader. And for that, I like that better because it's just more convenient. Comic books take like maybe 10 minutes to read if you're going slow and looking at everything. Mm-hmm. So like, you would think that you would be able to get through, like, even in one bus trip, maybe like 5.
Yeah. And I guess I always feel like comic books are weirdly fragile, so I don't like reading real ones. It's just like, this is gonna rip, and then that kind of like, what if it's worth millions of dollars in the future kind of starts.
I never got that until like I got older. Yeah. Because as a kid, I totally was the kid that like I would go to the corner store. The Max was right by my house on Summerfield, if you know Airdrie, Summerfield Road. There was a Max there, like right when you come into Airdrie. My house was kind of just down the street, a block. So I would like, after school, I went to St. Martin de Porres, which is kind of Max is on the way home for me. So I would bike to the store, grab a comic book or two, literally put them in my back pocket, and then ride my bike home, sort of thing. Like, fold them up and put them in my pocket.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you just gotta do what you gotta do. You want to read the thing, so... Mm-hmm. Oh no, like, yeah, I remember I had a Mario Brothers comic, and like I was reading it while walking around a park, and I fell and just ripped the front cover off, like just like, there's like, well, this is fucked, but
this is over.
I kept it because I still want to read it, but it's like totally dead now as a comic book value or whatever. Just plummets. Of course, there's a Mario comic, so it probably doesn't matter anyway. But
I didn't know comic books even had a value growing up because they were cartoons, and cartoons were just kind of like the kid toy version of reading.
Right.
They weren't taken seriously. Like in school and stuff, you wouldn't be able to do a book report on a comic book series or something, which you might be able to now. I don't know, because it seems a lot more liberal these days when I hear kids talking about what they're doing reports on, like video games and shit. Mm-hmm. So you might be able to do that now, but in our time, I guess, it was like, oh no, you have to read The Giver again. And then you have to write like about 1984 sort of like setting where Big Brother is watching you all the time and they're controlling your every move. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is fucked up for a kid, man. Why can't I read my Spider-Man?
Like, yeah, why are adults throwing this weird heavy stuff at me right now? Like, I'm obviously not. Yeah.
I'm not equipped to deal with this, dog.
Are the books they would choose for you, like, why was The Outsiders such a big deal?
The Outsiders was never a book we had to do, but we did a book report on the movie because my teacher was an idiot.
Okay.
So that was amazing.
We also watched the movie, but, like, I don't know. It was always just like, okay, there's a bunch of kids in the 50s, like, whatever. Like, I was like, maybe it's this weird kind of generational like dissonance thing where it's just like, well, to that teacher who's teaching that unit, that was their thing. Like that resonated with them because it was about like their parents' generation or something.
Dude, no. The teachers would get their curriculum and they just had to follow it.
Or like whatever, like whoever further up the chain kind of makes these things.
Yeah.
Like that book made sense for their generation, but they don't know what's going on with like contemporary fiction, so they're not going to kind of take a weird gamble on any of that stuff. So they're just going to go with what they know or whatever. Like it's just like, yeah, man, I read Mockingbird when I was a kid. Sure, that's still good, right? And it's just like, yeah, well, racial politics isn't really in the same place it was in the 60s. So do we have anything kind of more fresh that has to do with modern issues? And it's just like, we don't want to upset parent groups and whatnot. And the heads of those things also really like this book. And hey, man, Gregory Peck in that movie is great. So come on. And you're just like, okay. Like, things just won't change because it's stable. Like, people understand that. They figured that out. You can read an essay on Kill a Mockingbird and figure that business out. Like The Outsiders, all that stuff. Like, yeah, dude, Pony Boy, he's in the fire and all this. I don't know. What happened in that movie? I don't even remember. Like, there was a night fight. There was a rumble.
Okay, so there's two classes of like teenagers or whatever, or people. There was the greasers, which were like the working class sort of guys, and the socias or whatever, which were upper class sort of richer kids, and they would get into fights and shit. But what happened was what the fuck was his name? Johnny stabs one of them in one of the rumbles or whatever, and then he and Ponyboy have to run away, dye his hair and stuff, and then there's a fire that he saves a kid from. What's his name? Johnny does. So he gets burned up or whatever and dies, and the whole thing is about like different classes and like social warfare shit like that. I don't know, it's dumb. Cliques, all that sort of bullshit. I don't know, maybe they think it relates to teens even though there's no such thing as greasers for the last 100 years. Well,
this will speak to all generations of teenagers. Like they're all kind of feel the same way. Like, okay, this probably won't be like heresy to any of our listeners, but here you go. What is that James Dean movie everyone just flips out over?
Cool Hand Luke?
Like, oh my. No, that's Paul Newman.
Oh, that's Paul Newman. You're right.
Yeah.
Rebel Without a Cause.
Rebel Without a Cause.
Yeah.
I saw that movie like finally after the legend of Rebel Without a Cause was like firmly established by watching The Simpsons and seeing references to it and all this stuff. And, like, just kind of like, okay, this is a movie that the world thinks is important. Like American Film Institute, they put this on their top list or whatever. Like this is one of the movies.
It's the movie.
I watched it and it was like hilarious how bad it was.
Yeah, it's like, really dumb.
It is so hokey and cheesy. It's just like, like people talk about Reefer Madness as just being like totally doesn't get teenagers or whatever, like just ridiculous, hyperactive, like reactive thing. I haven't seen it, to be clear, but it has that reputation, right?
Yeah,
of being like just not getting drug culture, and that's what makes it hilarious. Rebel Without a Cause does not get teenagers at all. At least not modern ones. So the way that looked, it was just like, this would never happen. Like, this couldn't have happened. If this happened, this is ridiculous. Like, it was just like this kid who's kind of like gets misunderstood, like all these gangs and all this stuff. Like, it was just like so toned down, obviously, because it couldn't do crazy stuff because it was the 50s. So you can't have like actual violence or anything. Like, it just seemed like weird because it was trying to be like edgy and like show how dark this stuff these teens were getting up to was, but none of it was that dark relative to modern times. So it just comes across as like this weird censored movie. Like, it's just like, this isn't, what is this? Like, what do they think they're doing right now? But then, you hear about it, it's like, well, in historical context, like, this was really edgy for the time. And like, this character, there's kind of subtle implications he's gay, and that's pretty progressive for the time. And you're just like, okay, but that doesn't work anymore. Like, you can't have this kind of be that implicit, like, it's, I don't know. I found that movie just baffling. Like, it was just this like, oh no, this is old. Like, you can just tell this is old. This is dusty old. This is old in the bad way.
Sure.
Like, this is over. Like, this won't work anymore. Like, there will always be kind of like Well, okay, there will be for the next little while a group of people that will fondly remember that movie, like that was one of their formative things or whatever. But that movie will die with those people. Like, I don't see that movie finding second life or something. Like, I just don't see that happening. Or at least for me personally, like, that will never find a place in my kind of like, oh yeah, that movie hit hard. That was really crazy. It's just like, no, this movie is so out of touch with modern times because it was never designed for modern times. It was designed for 1955 or whatever, and now it's old. It's gone.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
About teenagers.
Okay.
Because you're an expert. No, it actually deals more
I was
with,
one once.
It deals more with the fact that you and I had different
totally
teenage experiences in schools and sort of thing.
Right.
In your school, was there like, going back to the Outsiders, was there like different cliques and classes of kids?
I'm just gonna say no.
Okay.
Really.
Because like in my school there was I guess like what you would call like the stoners or whatever. Like I don't know what you would call them because they weren't at that time. The school I'm talking about specifically was the Airdrie school, so it was still junior high.
Right.
It wasn't high school because once you get to high school, okay, high school was a totally different bag of potatoes for me. Sack of potatoes, bag of potatoes, whatever. Because when I went to high school, I moved schools completely into Calgary. Like I wasn't going to Airdrie anymore. And then it became like a class warfare thing, but not between like the jocks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But between white people and brown people, like Indians. And it got really weird. But that's because like in my school, there was a whole lot of East Indian like representation. So everyone else hated them sort of thing because they all stuck together. But it was I don't know. It's kind of neat. I'm just going off on a tangent quickly about this. It was kind of neat because like that was the first time I saw like Asian people, white people, and like black kids and stuff all kind of like grouped together against this other threat, quote unquote. So it was this weird like, yeah, but they're bringing everyone else, other races together by them like if there was a fight that broke out, it wouldn't matter like who was right or who was wrong. The Indian people would stick together and just like fight everyone that wasn't brown.
Like there's just like common hatreds, and that's at least like a thing to band together about, but it's kind of a terrible thing.
It was kind of weird though, because I don't think that happens in a whole lot of schools. Like usually it's, from what I understand in the States and stuff, the whites and blacks or the Mexicans and the blacks and sort of thing, right? This was like everyone except this other group, which was nominal enough that you needed that. Otherwise it would be unfair every time something would happen. But
was there like fights though? Or
oh fuck yeah! Oh yeah!
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because I was kind of just thinking over my situation again, and it was like, well, there was like groups that would kind of just gather around common interests or something. So there'd be like people you'd barely see because they're off at basketball practice, and you're here talking about Zelda or something. Like it's just like, but it was small enough class sizes where it was never like there was never room for enough distance to form where you could then treat them like bizarre others and like have fights or anything. Like it never got that way.
Oh yeah, so, this always got that way. But anyways, I digress about that because that's neither here nor there. And
I do kind of want to just acknowledge that like maybe a lot of this, like a lot of things not resonating with me is like I'm the odd one in having a strange upbringing as a formative thing. So it's just like, this is nothing like my reality at all. So this must exist in Fantasy Town or be old and out of date. And it's just like,
sure.
Oh no, dude, if you went to modern like public school, like a lot of these old stories would actually still kind of click with kids because they have similar lives. And you're just like, oh, okay. Whereas like for me, it was just like, this never resembled anything I ever saw, so I don't know what to make of it. And I just kind of put it on the growing pile of things I just don't think are that great.
It didn't resonate with me too much either, though. Like, okay, so that happened. That was kind of a weird, like, social test about racism or some bullshit or whatever you want to. It was what it was during high school. And yes, for the clarification and to put on the record, I do realize that later in life I started having East Indian friends, and they're like, no, actually East Indians usually hate each other based on religion, so that's untrue. They don't just hate every white person, they actually hate each other too. So whatever, it's people hate each other for dumb shit. What I was getting at though is that there were cliques in my like Catholic junior high school and stuff, and they were like the preppy jockey, not jocks, they were preps because they weren't good at sports, but they had sweater vests and they would just look like total douches all the time. And then like
sounds like bully or something. This is so crazy to me, but okay.
They did. They looked like such douches. They actually had sweater. They actually did. I'm not even kidding.
That's amazing. Okay.
It's so dumb. It was so dumb because that was like the Backstreet Boys style or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they would have like.
And then there were all the leather jackets smoking down by the cars.
Not the leather jackets, but like I had my Metallica and Slipknot shirts and stuff, and like my friend James had the same thing, and like at that time we both had dreads. And, like, we played guitar, so there was, like, our group sort of thing. Like, it's so dumb to talk about right now. It's so cheesy. But, like, there was our group, and then there was, like, the outcast girls and the popular girls, and then, like, the nerdy group that always talked about video games sort of thing. Which, like, the weird thing, though, is what I'm getting at is that one time, we all kind of, like, coexisted. We all knew each other, because Airdrie was small enough that you would just know everybody and kind of be friends with whoever based on who they were as a person, even though they hung out with different cliques. So, like, that part doesn't resonate with me. But one time specifically, James had a birthday party, and I think it was his 13th or something. And we had about 20 people there. Like, he invited a whole bunch of people to his house. And it was just surreal seeing the different cliques also form in this other setting outside of school, like at the party, but everybody was like drinking and doing drugs together. So all the cliques were together, but still in a bigger group of all of us. So I don't know.
I'm just imagining this like big room, but there's like weird little clusters of 3 or 4 in each corner.
It got weird. I don't know how deep into this we want to get, but like there's a point where when the night was going down that like the popular girls were outside by the fireplace, like drinking and talking about some of the guys or something inside. And like James and I and our little group were watching horror movies upstairs, and the preppy guys were watching porno together in the same room downstairs.
Like, it's just like everyone's doing their thing in a different building.
In a different part of the building, but I don't know. Like,
well, no, but also like in a place not school, so you can just do the thing. It's kind of crazy.
I always found it weird that there was a group of like 5 guys watching porn together. That was disgusting to me.
That is weird. I have never had an experience like that.
That sounds so bad. That sounds like the worst possible thing.
Why would you want to engage? What? Yeah.
Oh, man. But anyways, I don't know. Like, as far as weird social experiments go, no movie ever relates to my situation because I've had 2 severely different experiences with like junior high and high school where it's like, yeah, there were cliques, but we all still kind of got along. And then this other clique later was more racism.
Well, like maybe it's kind of a thing where like there's always a limbo where it's like, well, we're going to have to make that movie then or something. And then it comes out. But then by the time it comes out in like 2019, it's like, well, this doesn't relate to 2019 kids, so they're going to be like, what the hell are the 35-year-olds talking about? And you're just like, you had to have been there, man.
I mean, it probably doesn't exist anymore. There's probably no cliques in high school anymore, or junior high, or whatever.
Well, I did kind of like 21 Jump Street's jokes on that front, because it was like within 7 years or whatever, those guys' understanding of what high school was didn't matter anymore. Because it was just like, I don't know what's going on anymore. There's like all sorts of new groups, and they all have opinions and ideas of things that we've never heard of, and like that I found to be actually a pretty funny little observation, if you remember, right? Like they show up at school, and there's like more cliques than they had, but then there's also just different things. So there's like I don't know. And
there's like sub-genres of cliques.
Yeah, and it's in such a short amount of time because it's like they're now like maybe at most 1 decade older, but it's like a completely different landscape. So yeah, kind of weird, ever shifting.
I guess, yeah. Anyways, let's put a pin in this because I'm sure everything is perfect in schools now, and I'm sure everyone that is in school still can agree that there is no separation of people, no anxieties, no problems, and everybody is living in utopia. If you disagree, leave a voicemail because you're not having your voice heard. We only got 3 voicemails from one person, so fuck you. If you have an opinion and you haven't voiced it, it doesn't exist, so fuck you. Anyway,
Hey,
so
yeah.
you played some Sega Saturn.
Yes. We did Top Down Perspective did part 2 of its Sega Saturn stream, so that is available now on like John's Twitch channel. And I don't know, a lot of stuff I'd never heard of, like Strawl. Have you heard of Strawl?
No.
Okay, it's like Japanese Dragon Lair, and I didn't know that was a thing, but I was kind of into it because it's
that
just
sounds
like,
terrible. That doesn't sound good at all.
It's terrible in the same way Dragon's Lair is terrible, where it's like down, oh you missed it, you died. Like it's that terrible gameplay idea, but it's still kind of weird to me to just see like anime adventure style stuff happening, but it's like the same. I also felt maybe it gave you a little better heads up. There's a little more clue to when to do the thing. Maybe
was it kawaii?
What
was it kawaii?
What does that mean?
Kawaii. So kawaii.
What does that mean? What are you saying?
Continue.
What? No, explain yourself. What?
Kawaii.
I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. Is this like waifu? Is this like a joke or something?
Oh, it just means cute.
Oh.
Like the cutesy anime. Was it cutesy anime bullshit?
No, it wasn't that. It was like, it actually, Sean and I both had the same thought watching the opening thing. Oh, it's like He-Man. Like, it looked like Japanese He-Man. Like that kind of swords and sorcery adventure stuff. And just like, each sequence was just a new boss monster or whatever. Anyway, Darkstalkers, I played that.
Yeah. With Tits McGee.
Yeah, they really emphasize her too. I didn't know that they leaned into that as hard as they do.
Morgan, man.
Yeah, she's on the back of the case. She's like, hey,
she is the face of Darkstalkers. Well, she's the chest of Darkstalkers.
Yeah. No, that was actually fun. Like that was a cool little fighting game. The dating sims, no idea. Like, it's impossible to figure out what to do in those because they're so calendar.
They're text based too.
Yeah. So it's just like, you have an organizer. All right, this person's talking to you. Make sure you're paying attention. You're just like, click, 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 click. Okay. Oh, there's a number 21 in there. I think that means we have a date on the 21st. Okay, I marked it down. Where do we go though? Should we come back here? Like all this, like just total confusion. So that is all chaos. But weird titles for those and kind of some odd quirks to each of them. But yeah, I don't know. Just a bunch of Japanese games. Oh, Panzer Dragoon, I finally played that.
That's good. That's fun.
Yeah. I finally see like, oh yeah, no, Rez was this. Like,
sure.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's Music Dragon Orta, like that, or Panzer Dragoon. That is that. But yeah, that kind of gameplay style was introduced to me with Rez, so that was kind of always my touchstone on that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think kind of what, like a bunch of fighting games, Virtua Fighter Kids. So that's a thing.
Now your child can get the shit kicked out of them.
It's kind of just chibi versions of the characters. It's kind of lazy, but yeah. I don't know. Anyway, if anyone's interested in seeing that stuff, there's a bunch of banter over that over on John's channel. And
why is that not on your YouTube channel for TDP? That's ridiculous.
I think we're still kind of we're still on kind of like the weird early point of owning a YouTube channel. So it's like, hey man, that's over 15 minutes. What are you doing? You're just like, oh.
You do realize that one of your members of TDP is one of the bigger Let's Players from like forever ago, right?
Oh, so you're saying he should just be like, point to that as a place for things, and then we'll get subscribers, and then we can do that kind of stuff?
No, I mean, he should just be like, if you don't know how to do this, I will tell you.
Oh,
like, why is he not just telling you how to do it?
There's a way to just kind of upload longer videos right away.
Oh, you have a restriction?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure our channel has a restriction.
Oh, a 15. Well, what you can do with Twitch. Okay, this is weird shop talk. Mm-hmm. You can either make highlights or whatever of a stream, and then it just kind of cuts it up, or you can just be like, upload this to YouTube, and then it's like, yo, do you want to chop this up into like 15-minute bits? And then you go yes, and it will automatically be like Saturn stream number 1 of 20 sort of thing, and it'll upload all of it under the limit.
Okay. I just personally haven't been doing much of that stuff, so I might not know what the holdup is there. Both of those guys have kind of other stuff on their plate, so I'm not really going to push the issue. But yeah, maybe we should do that. I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Whatever.
Sega Saturn stuff on his Twitch, so you can just watch it there too, I guess.
That's true. That's kind of what I've been thinking. Like, it's all on there. But if that's not a great place to watch videos, I guess you're right. But
I don't think you can leave comments. That's what I'm getting at.
Oh. Okay. I don't know. We'll investigate that further. And yeah, I guess just I felt I needed to mention it because it's honestly a lot of my weekly media. I've been listening to a lot of Bombcasts for like the past 3 years.
So now are you depressed because Ryan Davis is no longer there to say, "Hey, everybody's Tuesday"?
Kinda. Like
it
it's
sucks,
kind of
right?
It's this weird kind of thing, like where it's like, I'm just enjoying those old discussions a lot, and then every Tuesday there's the new one, and then you're just kind of like, oh right, yeah, man, what a bummer. Like it's just kind of like this weird way of like sustaining this bummer state of mind. But at the same time, like there's just some great discussions, and now I have so much more context for some of that stuff. So I kind of am getting more like, or just kind of being reminded of games from years past that I've thought about that I did, like Bulletstorm. Maybe should I play that?
It's funny you bring that up because on my parents' my family's PS3 up at my parents' house.
Yeah.
I downloaded the demo for that like a long time ago to give my brother something to play because they only had one video game. So I was just like, okay, well, I'll just download a bunch of stuff because this is like a Christmas present. So I'll download a bunch of different demos that are out right now so you can see what's out there and maybe buy something, blah, blah, blah. And that's still on there. And I almost played the demo even though I have the full game sitting behind me here. So it's like, I don't care about that game at all. I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's just kind of just stirring up kind of gaming stuff. Because, I mean, I also feel like it's... Maybe I'm just justifying why I'm spending so much time on it. But, like, we're at kind of another generation shift, right? So it's kind of... I'm finding it kind of interesting to listen back to kind of the highlights from years past of this generation. Like, it's just like, oh, yeah, that game came out. Like, it's kind of like a time to kind of... All right, party's over. What did you miss? Like, I think I'm going to play the Yakuza games at some point.
Yeah, all right.
I want to, though.
Okay. Yeah, you really like Grand Theft Auto type games, so...
I know, so to see kind of, like, Japanese development's weird riff on that stuff is interesting to me. I've been kind of academically curious for a little while. Like, I've heard it's kind of bad in weird ways, but I might be into that,
Can I give you a pointer, by the way?
For sure, yeah.
Thisyearcollection.org. It's This Year Podcast, and I don't know if you know about this. Do you know about this?
No.
It's a podcast where what they do, the people or person or whoever runs it, they basically take clips of different podcasts and put them together as like a best of compilation.
Okay, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, so Giant Bomb, they have best of 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, and a Ryan Davis Memorial podcast thing. And they're usually like 6 to 7 hours long of clips.
It's just like collections of some of the most beloved conversations, kind of?
Yeah, exactly. And they also have it for that's how I got caught up actually with the old, what the fuck was it called? The Hotspot. Because I didn't listen to the podcast back then. I was like, I'm never going to catch up. So I listened to their compilation of 2005, 6, and 7 and their top 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good way to do that as well, if you don't want to literally spend thousands of hours. Well,
I kind of don't mind it because I commuting and washing dishes and all this stuff. Like, there's plenty of reasons to listen to podcasts, but I guess that does make some sense because like there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of like, well, this was news at the time, and this kind of doesn't matter anymore in a way with some stuff. But at the same time, I do find it kind of interesting to be like, oh, wait, yeah, that was back before people knew what that was going to be called, or that this guy was going to leave the company, or like all this, or, that they were talking about the PlayStation security kind of algorithm being cracked, and then a few months later, was when the big, like, the PSN outage happened.
Yeah.
Like, just like, oh, weird, this was like foreshadowed. Like, I just didn't appreciate that in the moment, obviously, because I didn't know what was going to happen. So it's kind of weird hearing them talk about like Portal 2 and Mortal Kombat in the same podcast where they're talking about the PlayStation algorithm being hacked, because the week Portal 2 and Mortal Kombat came out is when that stuff all crashed, and the big thing that made the PlayStation version of Portal better didn't matter because you couldn't connect anyway. Like, just kind of shit like that, where it's just kind of like, oh man, the weird story that came out of this naturally. I don't know. I'm a weird dork that way.
Or like, remember when Ryan and Vinny had the conversation about the new Splinter Cell, whether or not you're going to get the night vision goggles or whatever?
Yeah. Like the weird wagers they put on this kind of stuff.
And that spanned for like, I think 3 to 4 weeks or something, real-time podcast. But like, if you listen to this year or whatever, it's within like 20 minutes.
Or I was hearing like their kind of optimistic appraisals of the Duke Nukem Forever demo, the same way I kind of played that demo. I was like, I don't know, it's kind of okay. And then we all know how that ended. Like,
I just like it. It's like, so I heard this was a hotspot where he's like, I heard on some guy talking on the bus saying Duke Nukem's coming out. He's like, no, it's not. It's never coming out.
That was my like favorite hotspot moment, where it's just like, and that was 2 years ago. It's still not out. Yeah. So if what he saw then looked good, how could it possibly look good now? Like,
it's just so they're saying it's coming out. It's not coming out.
Yeah. You have to be on like the bleeding edge of technology. Yeah. No, that rant was like, I am on board with Jeff Gerstmann and GameSpot and stuff from now on. Like, yeah, I was a hotspot listener back then. Mainly because I needed something background while I was playing Counter-Strike. So it all worked out. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Counter-Strike, man. Source. Gaming history. Anyway, old podcasts. Like, there's something that with that like weekly story, like you just kind of get this giant, ridiculous kind of just story of the times that comes out of it. Like 52 hour, like what is that? 150 hours a year or something? Like, it's just an insane volume of content that is essentially just like a news broadcast or something. But they don't archive that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, do they? Is there any way to go back and like be like, I want to watch like the news from 1956 in December? Like, is there a place where I can go be an idiot and do that?
No.
Not
from back then. No.
Okay. Well, because like, I mean, again, maybe I'm just kind of like a weird information dork sometimes, but like whenever I'd have to be in the archives at university, like for like a report or something, I'd be looking through the newspapers. I'd also be like, wait, what movies would have been out the week my mom was born or something?
Sure, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Look through that and she's like, oh, weird, or whatever. It's just like, what was going on when I was there? Or like the week my sister was born, Honey, We Blew Up the Kid came out.
Great.
And now I know that. That's awesome. Or actually, I don't even think it just came out. It was still in theaters. So just like, hey, it's week 3 of this movie. Do you want to go check it out? Like whatever. It just kind of like fleshes out what it would be like if I lived in that time. Because that's the kind of dumb shit I would care about.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. It kind of just makes it, it's like, well, front page stories about this like political thing. It's like, I wouldn't care about that then. So I would immediately be like, can I go see the latest Rick Moranis comedy and flip to the entertainment section? So I don't know. Old newspapers, man. But whatever. If I could watch kind of like when the old Ebert reviews were up, they archived all of that for a while.
Oh, really?
Like, I was just watching everything. It was just like, oh man, what about this movie? What did they talk? What did they say about it? And then just like, go back to some review in 1995 or whatever and just see how they felt about, like, I don't know, Braveheart, I guess. But no, I always wanted to know what they thought about Cronenberg's Crash, but there was like an archive error where it would always just show you the new Crash movie.
Oh.
And then like I emailed them a couple times, just like, dude, like it says 1997 or whatever, 1996, but I click on it and it just plays the new one. Can you fix this? Never heard back. And then after the show got canceled, like whatever iteration, it was like Jeffrey Lyons or whatever at that point, whoever it was, that website just went away. So all that stuff is kind of lost now. I hope it's on YouTube or something, like some army of film weirdos is doing that. Or maybe it's on his own site, but whatever.
Well,
Weekly
I don't want to scare you,
What?
but we can listen to our conversations from like 2 years ago.
I know. No,
It's so weird, right?
We're making one of those weird in-depth stories too, and I don't know. I'm not sure. I used to listen to it, but then I got kind of weird about it because it was just like, this is like I'm knowing myself too well. This
Sure.
is not how it's supposed to be.
I have to listen to it every week, so
to edit it. Yeah. So yeah, I've kind of avoided going back to that. It's weirdly navel gazy, kind of listening to hours of yourself talking. But yeah, it's kind of weird.
I hate hearing myself talk, but it's easier now because I just imagine it's not me.
Okay, like it's just this weird character that existed once.
Like, kind of, it's easier when you're cutting it too, because then if you think you're cutting someone else's stuff, you're more critical of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So where it's just like, usually you look at something and you're like, oh, I hate myself, but now you're just like, that guy's an idiot. It's like, oh shit. Then you remember back, and it's terrible. But anyways, we're not here to talk about that anymore because
we should go on to the question.
We should keep going on
waxing on that topic. But yeah,
we could talk forever about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
cast. Anyway,
like I said before, 1 caller, 3 calls. It's gonna be a hot time. So let's start it off.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Nathan. Hopefully, by the time you get this, maybe I'll snag a copy of X and Y, because right now it's like the day before launch day. So, I'm kind of nervous because Midnight Party and the game might sell out by that time, even though I pre-ordered a copy. So, maybe the next time I send in the second question, I'll be in a better mood. But anyways, I'll try to sound a little bit cheerful. The question I am asking is, hey Paul, when do you think you will get back into Pokemon? I mean, I know you streamed a little bit of Red and Blue. I mean, I wasn't there, but I saw the video of you catching a whole bunch of wild Pokemon, and it was hilarious. So when will you decide to get back into Pokemon again? Or at least play Pokemon games, because, you know, they're good.
That fucking Pokemon video is infamous now.
Oh, yeah? What happened? I didn't see it.
I reenacted the anime.
Oh.
On a live stream, and then put it up as kind of a joke on my YouTube as a highlight. And then, like, every time John does a stream with me or something and there's a bunch of people in the chat, there's a group of, like, 5 people that will just spam that link.
Great.
Yeah, so that's fantastic now. But anyway, it was like me throwing the hat, putting the hat backwards and being like, Pikachu, I choose you, and that whole bullshit, and then freaking out when I caught Pidgeotto or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was so dumb. It's still so dumb. You shouldn't watch it, but I know.
Wait, so it's like you kind of in character playing Pokemon?
Yeah, so like
that's awesome.
On the live stream, there's me playing like the game, and then in the corner there's my cam or whatever. So when I throw the Pokeball, I like put the hat backwards. And
all right, we'll get into it. That's awesome.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
It's so fucking dumb. It's so dumb. And like people just bug me with it now. So like during a stream, they'll just link it, and it's like, fuck off. Like I get it. I don't know. It's fun, but I know how John feels a little bit now. Like not to the point where he feels it, but it's like that's so played out. But whatever.
Well, he had a giant pokey head when I was there, so just embrace it at some point.
I guess.
Yeah. But
that being said, I'll probably do it again.
Well, it sounds like you got way into Pokemon again.
I did.
Generally, right? And plans to stream it again, or?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. Probably the same way too, because even though like it's haunting me a little bit now, it was super fun at the time because it's like, well, everybody streams Pokemon, but what if I was Ash? So I'll probably do it. Like I gotta watch more anime. Maybe I'll like do different parts of the episode, reenact in real life, sort of thing. Also, Mr. Marshmallow in the chat just linked it, so that's fantastic. And he said, you're welcome. There you go. Anyways, back into Pokemon. I'm gonna say I never left from when I was streaming it. Like,
Dota happened, or what was kind of the
like other video games. Dota 2 really isn't a thing right now because other shit is out. Like,
yeah,
that's the problem. And
it's never gonna be one topic forever.
For a while, it was World of Warcraft.
Okay.
Like, for a long time, for a couple of years, it was just playing that or whatever when I would get home and stuff. And I missed out on a lot of stuff, even though I kept up with, like, podcasts and news and, like, new stuff about the video games. I didn't get to get hands-on with a lot of stuff during that time. And that's not the case anymore. So, like, when stuff started coming out, Dota 2 stopped getting played, and I started playing something else. Diablo 3 was being played heavily, like, for hours on end at a time for a while, and now that's gone. Pokemon was played for about 10 hours this weekend so far, and as soon as I get beyond 2 souls, I'm not playing Pokemon until that's done. So it's hard for me to just, like, get into something and play it a whole lot, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Too much variety. But anyways, let's go to her second voicemail right now.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Nathan. I'm in a better mood because I got the Pokemon X game I was looking for. Took a while, but I got it. Anyways. Wait. Some question about something.
Good question.
Wait.
Oh,
is that
yeah.
the end?
Whoa.
Oh.
Hey, guys. What kind of candy do you like since it's Halloween? Do you have, like, a favorite brand of candy? Because Halloween's also known for candy.
Oh, yeah, candy. Forgot about candy. No, I'm trying to think. We actually, weirdly, we've been having candy a lot at the overnight shifts I've been doing at work. They've been buying boxes of Halloween candy, so I've kind of been getting my candy on already. Smarties aren't great. I'm just gonna. That seems to be kind of the reject of.
Did you say are?
Aren't.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've never liked Smarties or M&Ms.
Like, I will eat them, but I prefer peanut M&Ms, I guess, if there's
no,
choices
I'm
going
totally
on.
with you. And you know what? The peanut butter ones are good, too. Because they're Reese's Pieces.
Okay.
Basically.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, like the peanut ones. I think there's almond ones now. Those are okay.
Sure. I just don't like the candy shell over chocolate basic. That sucks.
Yeah, I've been having this thing where, like, I'm told this is just a normal dentistry thing or whatever. Like, if you're eating a lot of sugary stuff, eventually the enamel will kind of wear through, and then you'll feel this weird pain. You know?
No, that's never happened to me.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go on record and say I don't actually eat candy a lot at all.
Okay. So don't eat too much candy in one go, or this might happen to you.
Yeah.
But okay, fair enough. Do you have any favorites, though?
Honestly, I like Twizzlers, like some licorice. So those are probably front runner with Reese's peanut butter cups. But at the same time, like if we're talking about something, say I would go to a store to buy like a treat. Yeah. Candy is so fucking far down the list. It's not even a thing I buy ever.
Oh no, yeah. Like I never go out and buy a big box of candy or whatever. Like last time we bought candy, we were in the States. And there was like some chocolate bars that they don't have up here, so we're just like, yeah, we'll buy a dozen of these.
Yeah, but that's different because that's science.
Yeah, that's just research, really. That's cultural studies.
Yeah.
But yeah, like generally speaking, like chocolate type stuff. Like, but I kind of had a hierarchy. Like, I was accused yesterday by my sister of just never eating my Halloween candy, so she would steal it growing up. And it was just like, well, no, I had kind of a system where I was like saving some stuff. But at the same time, I also
You're such a dork. You were saving your fucking Halloween candy.
I saved my Halloween candy.
What type of kid are you?
For months, because you needed a stash, yo.
Oh my god. All right.
But that's half the truth. The other half was I'd already eaten all of my favorite kinds of candy at that point.
Of course.
So it was like generic, weird, kind of toffee things that, like, there's the weird kind of not great toffee.
And the orange and black wrapper.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are fucking terrible. They're so bad.
Like various suckers and stuff, Tootsie Pops, Tootsie Rolls, like all this stuff that would just like sink to the bottom. Rockets, I wasn't a big fan of.
Dude, I fucking hate rockets. You put a rocket near me, I will cap your fucking ass.
Yeah, to our American listeners, rockets are Smarties, I guess.
No.
They're called that there.
Okay. They're sugar discs, basically.
Right. They're the little weird chalky kind of candies. They're not great. So yeah, like it would kind of just be where I like Aero bars. I love Aero bars, so I'd eat all those.
Aero's good. Sure.
Oh, Henry's, I'd like those, so I'd eat all those.
Yeah, they're okay. They're good in the bite size, actually. Like a full chocolate bar of O. Henry's terrible.
Oh, yeah, like the bite size. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Of course.
The Crunch bars were rare, so I'd enjoy those.
They were rare. You're
Crunch.
right.
We had a lot of Crispy Crunch.
No, Crunch. Just Crunch.
Just Crunch were great.
There was another one.
Well, they're like the weird toffee stuff, right? Like, what's that stuff called? Saltwater toffee.
Oh yeah. No, there was another one. I can't remember what they were called.
Crunch.
Like Mr. Good Bar or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know that Mr. Good Bar is a thing. Mr. Big?
No, not Mr. Big. They looked and almost tasted like a coffee crisp, but they weren't coffee crisp. They came in the yellow package. I don't remember what they were called, but they were good and they were rare as well.
Okay. Yeah, I can't say for sure on those, but like Kit Kats are all right. They weren't my favorite, but they were okay.
Yep.
But yeah, basically chocolate stuff was always prioritized, and then the little cube toffees. I liked those.
Those were good. You're right. Actually.
Like I would kind of be like, junk toffee. Oh, sweet! I actually got one of these, and then I'd be happy with that. So
but yeah, the black wrapper ones with like ghosts or witches or whatever on it, the very generic Halloween candy.
Yeah.
Just like rockets, you put that shit near me, we're gonna have a fucking problem.
Right. So like the few times I've had to kind of give out candy, I haven't gotten with that stuff because it's just like, well, I know this would be garbage. Like no one wants this.
I'm gonna say generalization right now.
Mm-hmm.
Girls like candies better than guys do.
Maybe that's true.
Because from like when you were saying how like your sister or whatever would steal all your candies, blah blah blah. Like I was hardly listening. No, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, like when I would go with like my cousins and stuff who were girls, they would always like get excited and eat a whole bunch of candy and stuff. And like the girls at school and stuff would love the candies and shit. Like, and I just never felt that. To me, if we were gonna go out and I'm gonna get a treat from the 7-Eleven, I'd probably get corn nuts are good for me. I like those. Beef jerky or pepperoni sticks. Something cheesy maybe, but not powdered cheese, like real cheese. That's the type of stuff I would eat. Like a hot dog. I'd have a hot dog before I have like candy. I
guess my like 7-Eleven stuff was Macintosh toffee. Like just the big thing of toffee.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, or Eat More. I like those.
If we're going to go with like chocolate bars or candy bars, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
I'm going to say for me, Bounty. I like coconut.
Coconut's good.
Yep. Bounty, though, gets to a point where it's too much coconut. So if you get one of those big bars, you're fucked. You got to get like one of the smaller ones.
Yeah. There's a certain sweet quality to coconut that's kind of weird. So.
And of course, Slurpees.
Yeah. I enjoy a Slurpee.
I started enjoying Slurpees again more when I started mixing them with alcohol. I'm going to admit that.
I have yet to try this, but that sounds potentially intriguing.
Dude, it works so well. Because
I don't doubt it.
It's like mixing when you mix a drink with like soda, but then you don't have all that carbonation. And it's nice and cold.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
We got a 7-Eleven pretty close to us. And guess what else is in that complex? A liquor store. So things might happen. What's a good mix? What do you recommend?
I mean, vodka with anything fruity is fine.
Vodka with anything fruity. Okay.
If you're gonna get like a Coke or Dr. Pepper, Slurpee, something like hefty like that.
Okay.
Like a rum is okay.
Okay.
Whiskey is doable.
Not ideal though, because we have some around.
Whiskey with a normal carbonated beverage is the way to go. With a Slurpee, it doesn't taste right for me. So, I don't know. We should do another drunk cast, maybe. I like drinking when I talk to you, because we get weird.
We've been having White Russians around here sometimes lately, and they're pretty good.
White Russians are very good. Also, paralyzers and screwdrivers are Like,
I think we have the things necessary for all of those. So.
For both of those are like the drink of choice here usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can maybe, but
we should just hang out sometime.
We should. That needs to happen. You could have been to the game dev thing. That could have been a thing, but that wouldn't be the proper hangout.
How would that be? How could I go to the game dev thing? I work that day till 10 at night.
Till 10 at night? I didn't know that. Okay.
Every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I am not available because I work 11 till 10.
That's shitty because there's another one coming up.
I know.
But, okay.
I'm telling you. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm completely out.
Okay. I will try to plan around that then. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's all you got, huh?
It sucks, right?
Okay.
Because, like, even if I had normal hours, it would be like, oh, well, after work on Saturday, I'll come hang out. It's like, after work Saturday, I just want to go home and die.
Yep. That's rough.
Yeah. So, welcome to my life. Okay, last call from Youth.
Last minute question for Nathan. Just since I recently turned on and did all my shopping. When are you going to get back into Animal Crossing New Leaf? They're just starting the Halloween stuff up. I already got all my masks and getting candy. So maybe you should just get ready for Halloween and go trick-or-treat and scare animals and whatnot. Because it sounds like fun.
I don't know. It kind of, the burnout that happens with Animal Crossing happened again. But yeah, I guess I didn't take into account that there's probably a bunch of themed stuff around Halloween, so that might be worth checking in. I honestly just kind of want to finish a game before I move on to another game, even if it's a portable thing, right? Sure. So this was like Grand Theft Auto for a long time. Then Beyond Two Souls, like there's stuff I wanted to finish up and other stuff, but I was like, no, I gotta finish Beyond Two Souls. So I kind of, because I knew if I like stopped partway through that game, it would be weird to finish it because it's such a story thing. So you'd kind of just extra lose the plot. So yeah, I'm thinking of doing some 3DS stuff in the near future just because I just got Luigi's Mansion. So, and we have it installed Animal Crossing on there, so maybe that could be a thing like, all right, I finished a mansion in Luigi's Mansion, I'll just go over here and check out some Animal Crossing stuff. But can you do that stuff at night? The Halloween stuff? Or is it like, no, everyone's sleeping, dude?
I would assume that's the only time you can do it.
That makes sense, right? Like, it's like, hey, it's dark out, go trick-or-treating. So, okay. All right. I'll check out some Animal Crossing stuff. I've had issues like, synchronizing time frames with anybody on our, like, friends list or whatever. Like, opening the town gates or whatever. Like, there's been a few times where I've opened the town gates and then just nothing seems to happen. So, the multiplayer component of that game, I just kind of haven't been doing anything. So, apologies to anyone who's been kind of hoping that would happen.
I think a lot of people gave up on it, though, because let's not beat around the bush. People that like Animal Crossing are now playing Pokemon.
Well, yeah. Like, like, you play Animal Crossing for a couple months and then it's kind of over. Like, it's such a slow rewards thing. I don't know. Like, I haven't played a full year of Animal Crossing since, like, the GameCube one. And I don't think I ever will again. Because it just kind of isn't different enough. Like, I guess, yeah, if I'm going to be critical of, like, not iterating much on the core formula, like, Animal Crossing kind of hasn't changed much at all. But there's only been, like, 4 of those, right? 5?
Dude, I don't know. I haven't played any of them.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. But, okay, I could conceivably play Animal Crossing again. Certainly before Halloween. So...
Halloween.
I guess I honestly just got tired of the grind of going to catch bugs every night. That was all I was doing, because that is the way you make money. So it was just like, all right, it's nighttime, time to listen to a podcast and go to the island. And eventually that just became like, this is terrible. I hate going to the island. And then I just stopped. So
sure.
maybe I should just stop caring about the economy of that game or maxing out my house and just kind of try to investigate weird stuff going on. And then when I stop finding stuff, just turn it off.
Sure.
Instead of being like, all right, well, now it's time for an hour of grinding. Like, I'm kind of ruining it myself. So, yeah. Anyway, there you go.
So there we go. Only one person sent in voicemails this week. So I would say I'm disappointed, but that would assume that I thought any of our listeners had any class in the first place.
Ooh, scathing words.
No, I'm just kidding. I love all of you, and I want to hear from you because you're my friends. And if you don't know how to do that, I'm going to get my girlfriend to tell you right now.
Got a question or comment for the show? You can email us at podcast@pixelresponse.com or leave a voicemail using the voicemail feature on the right side of the main page. On Twitter, you can reach Nathan at Krasnor and Paul at Exposure. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/thepixelresponse and visit pixelresponse.com for more.
Another show in the bag, my friend.
All right.
Not bad, right?
Yeah.
We had some laughs. We had some trials and tribulations about Pokemon and people telling you to shut the fuck up because you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's fair. I don't. So thanks for informing me. I don't know.
Yeah.
One day I may play one. That could happen.
Maybe. I'm wondering. We could stream you playing one. Because then, you and I could just talk about it, and then you might have some more fun because you're hanging out with your best buddy ever.
Oh, try to introduce me to Pokemon live.
Mm-hmm.
It's hang out with the Pokemon Master, Paul the Pokemaster.
Yeah, that's totally me.
I go to Paul's dojo and learn about the Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Something like that. I don't know, but to be fair, a lot of people love seeing people play Pokemon for the first time.
Okay.
Because it's a rare thing, apparently. And I guess I could see that because people that are into it are just like, oh, yeah, I've been a Pokemaster for 20 years.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't quite be my first time ever looking at it or something, but fair enough. Or should I just pretend it is?
I don't know. Do you want to pretend it is?
No. Oh, weird. No.
I find it kind of funny that there's this weird reputation in the chat room now where that you're a porn fiend because you're totally not. So, I don't even remember how that started, but
there was that one episode where we were just kind of talking about Britain had weird porn laws or something.
Oh right, yeah.
Right, so I think just that the topic came up so many times that kind of.
But now, when you say something, people are just like, "Yeah, I bet it's in your porn dungeon, Nathan." It's just holy shit.
I have a dungeon. Okay.
A dungeon full of porn. That's the first thing I think about whenever I think about you. So.
Great.
Take that for what it's worth, I guess.
All right, this weird mystery about my habits. Well, yeah, let that permeate.
We'll let that sink in, and I guess we'll see everybody next time.
Treasure chest or something.